Hello and welcome to another episode of Video Game Logic. Today's show was recorded on October the 18th, 2016. I'm your host, Gaming Psychologist, and with me, as always, no fancy name this week.
Oh, now I feel neglected. You're neglecting me more than Skype. And by the way, I'm Caffeine Rage.
Yeah. On today's special edition of the show, we're going to have the game's Rage Blade, our weekly community corner, our Steam Weekly Deals discussion, and a special segment with a special, very special host, Akinesis Gaming, which we recorded
guest.
that. Yeah, guest host, whatever.
Well, he is here for most of it.
Yeah.
It's just I don't think he can make Tuesdays.
Yeah, that segment's like 2 hours and 10 minutes long, so as you can see by our truncated topic list, that's the bulk of the podcast. So, yeah. How are you, Rage?
I'm doing all right. Still fighting my never-ending battle with Skype.
And your internet connection.
Oh, don't get me started on my internet connection. My ISP could go fuck themselves with a pine cone.
Right, and if that dies in the middle of this recording, I'm just going to run with what we have. And then throw in a little blurb in the middle, like, Rage's internet connection died here, so here's the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, my connections died twice today. Yeah, I'm not exactly pleased with them.
Yeah, it's also not instilling me with confidence, but, my power's gone out a couple of times. Windows 10 forced me to restart in the middle of a recording once, so I can't really complain too much.
Yeah, and it's just been very frustrating. And the fun part is that you call customer support to complain. You can get the robo agent saying, there appears to be network problems in your area. We cannot transfer you to an agent right now because we are experiencing higher than usual call activity for some fucking reason. Can't imagine why. Goodbye. Click.
Oh, I hate that. I hate when they just hang up. It's like, if they ask, it's like, would you like to hold for a representative, or would you like a representative to contact you back? That's okay. That's fine. But they just hang up on you.
It's not fulfilling to cuss out the robotic agent. You need somebody flesh and blood to do that. The computers haven't taken that job yet.
The absolute worst is when you wait on hold, you talk to somebody, and they're like, oh, hang on, let me transfer you to another department. And then the phone rings and rings and rings, and then you wait on hold some, and then the robot comes on and is like, yeah, we actually can't help you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. And then I, hang myself.
And then you sit there and just twitch for a moment.
It's like, well, where's their headquarters? I'm getting my gun.
Get the Molotovs.
Oh. Well, I have had an excellent day. Very boring day. I didn't go to the clinic yesterday. It was closed. Because the university was on fall break. And the first day of fall break, the clinic was closed. So I sat at home and did work all day. For my wife.
Oh, my.
We're doing a bunch of stuff. We rearranged our entire living room. I should take a picture and put it on Twitter. Our new living room setup actually looks really nice. We took an old China display cabinet that we had and took all the guts of it out, drilled some holes in it for cables, and turned it into a new entertainment system.
Huh.
And it looks really nice. I'm quite proud of myself for the work I did on that. And then we did other stuff around the house.
Oh, my.
Oh, yeah. But no, it was mostly cleaning and rearranging and all that jazz. So, but I mean, it was still nice. And then we've been playing the Game Club game. That's really the only different game I've played this week from the norm.
And you really can't talk about it yet.
I can't talk about that. But I'm really excited. Katie is watching me play, and she's going to record something for us. Oh,
really?
Yeah.
A special treat. Mrs. Arthur.
Yeah.
Maybe this should be a thing. Have Katie send in something every time. She'll probably hate me for suggesting that.
Maybe. Depends on what the games are. I mean,
Well, looking at the vote, I think we have a good idea what the next one is.
Is Skyrim still way in the lead?
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous just how far it is in the lead.
Last time I looked, I think it was either 6 or 7 votes ahead of second place, which I think was Grand Theft Auto 4 at the time. But I haven't checked on it in a few days. What's it at now?
Well, it's still way ahead. It is
Going to the
10
results.
to 4 to 3.
Oh, so it's gotten a few more votes.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless there's a grand resurgence for one of the other 2 games, I think that...
Or someone just starts, just stuffing the ballot box.
Yeah. Well, voter fraud is a major problem in the United States, according to one Donald Trump.
Have you know voter fraud is a time-honored tradition. Vote early and vote often.
Okay, all right. Political story, and then we can move on to games.
Well, besides, you shouldn't trust the polls. I mean, Trump doesn't trust the polls now. Never mind that he was touting how far ahead he was in polls for months and months and months. Now that he's losing, he doesn't believe in them.
So I was browsing r/politics today.
Boy.
As
a
as
new
I
place
do.
for you to get banned?
No. I'm on r/politics all the time. I rarely talk. I usually just read. It's one of those things. It's like r/politics is.
Well, isn't r/politics turned into sort of like Hillary for president?
Pretty much, yeah.
Not
But
that
r/politics.
really blame him.
No, but r/politics in general has a pretty high liberal bias. So I don't have much to say there because usually anything I would say has already been said, and I'm just like, nah, I'm not going to add to the echo chamber. But I thought to myself, I should go check out some of the other political subreddits. Because for the last week,
You went over to the Donald, didn't you?
I did go over to the Donald just to see what was going on over there. Oh my gosh, that is an awful cesspit. It's all conspiracy theories, and one news article about Hillary, one of her campaign buses that apparently dumped waste improperly in Georgia. There must be 20 posts that are about that. And then the rest of it is don't trust the polls. Don't trust the polls.
Oh.
Don't trust them polls. And then there was one poll that showed that someone had posted that showed that Donald was winning by 4 points in Texas, and it was a Survey Monkey. It was a Survey Monkey survey where people were voting, and I was like, I don't know if that's the most accurate thing, to be honest. But I just had I like to challenge my beliefs pretty regularly. And I thought, the last few weeks I've not been really doing anything except, going on the...
Getting banned from the Donald.
I'd done that to make myself feel good one day. I created a
Throwaway account?
A throwaway account and got it banned from r/the Donald. But anyways, I like to challenge my views pretty regularly. And I thought, I've just been kind of living in this... echo chamber, vacuum, whatever you want to call it, where I'm my sole belief is Donald Trump is awful, he's going to lose. And, just to make sure that I'm not burying my head in the sand. Okay, let's go check out some other stuff. And no, he's pretty much crazy. Because even the conservative subreddit, r/conservatives, and then r/Republicans, and r/GOP are somewhere between, 50-50 to leaning anti-Trump. Not necessarily pro-Hillary, but anti-Trump. It's people are what's happening to my beloved Republican Party? What's going on? This is madness.
This is the Donald.
r/conservative was a little bit more pro-Donald than I guess I was expecting. But it still was there were plenty of people no, Donald Trump is crazy. This is awful. So it made me feel at least that we're not all on this crazy, I don't know, confirmation bias roller coaster. Lots of people are no, he's crazy, even conservatives. So felt better about myself. That was my politics for the day.
Well, look at it this way. Within a month, the nightmare will be over, and the new one will begin.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, why don't you do something to relieve us of those nightmarish thoughts and tell us about the games you played this week?
Yeah, well, all three of these were, well, one of these was my Sunday sampler, and the other two were candidates for it until, I had issues with the games.
Right.
So let's talk about what actually I did the video on first. Manual Samuel. Kind of a catchy name. Unfortunately, the title of the game is actually longer than the game itself, which was my primary complaint about it. Let's put it this way. Typically, whenever I do these videos, I'll usually playtest an hour to 2 hours. Mostly because I haven't had anything that really needed a lot more time than that yet. Nothing huge strategic games or anything like that. So, I was at about 45 minutes. I decided to check the achievements.
Yeah.
I had most of the story achievements already. And I looked at the level select, and I had 2 levels left. It's like, ooh.
Dang.
There's people that are saying that this game is an hour and a half long. Now, for those playing at home, the Steam refund policy is at 2 hours. I think the developer's going to have a bit of a problem here. And on top of this, there were some people complaining on the forums that anti-ghosting on their keyboards was actually preventing them from beating the game. Because, well, I should say what this game is. This is a YouTube bait game. Think of it as the bastard child of QWOP and an episode of a Telltale game. A more recent one, where you're playing a lot of mini games to progress the story, but not really a point and click. Something like Walking Dead-ish. Without the illusion of choice, I should add. And that's really what Manual Samuel is. It wants to be a Telltale game and has all the little mini games while you're still having to do a bunch of stuff manually. Like, you're having to actually have your character breathe manually I was using my DualShock 4 controller by pressing the square button and then pressing the circle button every so often. And then you have to blink to keep the screen from just washing out, which was the X button. And, it's just... it's interesting, but the thing is that it's so short that they don't really do anything with it. You were about to say something earlier?
Oh, I was going to say, I heard someone say that this was like QWOP on steroids, but you kind of just sort of answered.
I preferred mine, Bastard Child of a episode of a Telltale game and QWOP. It's one of those that, they look at the child and it's like, ew, and leave it on a doorstep somewhere.
Okay.
Because the humor in this game, I realize humor is subjective, and I'm old. And, well, I should say ancient by internet terms. And I played through most of the story. I did not laugh once. I did not chuckle once. I groaned several times. A lot of the humor in this game revolves around hashtags, hashtag broken jawbone whenever your character gets a bottle of, what was that, broccoli juice or some hippie vegan bullshit smashed in his face because he was ignoring his soon-to-be ex-girlfriend. I did like the narrator. It had sort of a Stanley Parable-ish quality about him. Only, except, the actually having humor. But that's beside the point. And then there's death, because you die pretty much immediately in the story, and that's why you're having to do everything manually. That's the curse that death has put upon you to try to basically screw you over and get you to die again. And for some reason, they made death a skater douchebag.
Yeah, I can see that in the screenshots.
And he's constantly trying to do kickflips. And
right,
for some reason,
cool.
The humor for death, I'm not sure if you've ever had a friend like this, but a friend that thought to be funny, he needed a catchphrase, so he thought it was something very obnoxious and was saying it constantly, trying to make it funny.
Oh, sadly, yes. I've had friends like that.
That's what Death's humor is all about. He's constantly saying, "Oh, Theses. You're the lord of the underworld. Say shit, you insufferable douchebag."
Oh, wow. That's awful. That's so
The
bad.
only character I liked was War, mostly because she absolutely hated death. Oh. But yeah, the humor is not particularly great. The game is short as hell, to the point, well, if you pardon the pun there. It's so short that you can actually beat the game and then refund it. Not that I'm suggesting that, because I think it's kind of a waste of your time to play this game. And there's a couple times that they really zoom in that on the art that you could see where they isn't exactly the highest quality art. Not to say that the game's ugly. I mean, it definitely has its distinctive art style. But don't zoom in on low resolution art. It makes things look fuzzy.
Yeah.
So, in other words, yeah, it may be a shock to you, but I don't recommend this game.
It does not sound like it.
Trying to think of anything else that really pissed me off about it. And I'm kind of coming up blank, especially if you don't have a controller. This game is literally unbeatable to you. And they don't have rebindable keys, because, that would require actually putting in some more effort into the game. So if you're having a problem with anti-ghosting on your keyboard, which, is kind of a common thing, actually, because you would, if I recall correctly, the problem was you were having to hit A, Z, and S at the same time or something like that. And that triggers anti-ghosting on a lot of keyboards.
A, Z, and S. Okay.
Because they're all together there like that. I know it was A and Z, but it was something else right in that little area. And that triggers anti-ghosting. Which, if you don't know, anti-ghosting is a thing on keyboards to make it so that if you're pressing down a lot of keys that are right adjacent to one another, the computer's like, well, he's not intending to do that, is he? No, ignore that. So yeah, it's literally unbeatable. Oh,
right.
What a mess. Speaking of what a mess, let's move on to my second game, Clockwork.
Excellent segue, sir.
That you just completely ruined.
Always. Tell me about Clockwork.
This is why we can't have nice things. This was actually a promising game when I started off with it. And then the tutorial prompt started up. This is a sort of a this is a puzzle platformer. Sorry, the other one's a little bit of stealth. This is a puzzle platformer that does not have X input on it. So whenever it was telling me to push a button, it was telling me to push button 0 on my controller.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
And which button is button 0?
Oh, that was the fun part of trying to figure that one out. And just to make sure, I've used both my DualShock controller, and I even broke out my old, rather worn 360 pad, just to make sure that it wasn't something with DS for Windows that was causing some problems. Nope. It is a puzzle game that you have no idea what the fucking buttons are. And when I got to the point where it said, press button 3 to activate this ability, then button 2 to... It's, fuck it. No. I'm not putting in the time to figure out what exactly these buttons are, let alone what they do. And also, it uses the Simish style, where, instead of spoken words, it goes blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
For text. And every character has their own background on the text window. And let's just call her Navi. It's some sort of thing that lives in your watch that the main character has. I only got about 15 or 20 minutes in this game. Her text has the background of bright blue with black text on a text window.
That sounds like it would not be appealing to the eyes.
Well, the good thing is that you could easily read it because it blinds you, so you just see that spot in your vision for the next 5 minutes.
Well, that's good to know.
Granted, you're not seeing much of the rest of the game, and the game, it's not terrible looking, but it has some weird animation things going on. It's very much, you could tell that it almost looks like a Flash game where they have the character kind of segmented and move the parts of the character instead of drawing the new character over and over again like traditional animation.
Yeah.
And a couple times he was reaching through his chest to grab a ladder. Which was a little odd. But yeah, wasn't impressed with this one. And then let's go on to my final one, Ballistick. Essentially, about Newgrounds 2000's Flash game for 2016. My main problem with this one was, if you look at the video, that's sped up by about, I want to say about 5 times. The game is incredibly slow. To the point that it feels like just a fraud of the way that they're presenting the game. It's incredibly slow. The animations are just awful. The controls were chunky as hell. It just wasn't very appealing, and that's why I ended up not doing a video on it. But the reason why I wanted to talk about it was that the game was just so damn slow compared to what the videos were showing. It's essentially a bull shot, which, if you don't know what bull shots are, they're essentially doctored screenshots, bullshit screenshots. They're very prevalent in really gaming in general, to the point that they're actually legal because of the precedent that gamers don't trust advertising, so advertising can lie to gamers. It's kind of those weird things going on. Yeah, I'm sure Kyle's already writing in how I'm wrong there, but I was watching some videos about bull shots in the past week.
Never heard that before. That's interesting.
Yeah,
Kyle, that's your next project.
Yeah, I'll have to send you that video, or maybe I'll add it to the show notes so there's actually something in the show notes.
Go right ahead.
Of course, that requires me to go find that video again. But yeah, it was sluggish. It was chunky. The controls it didn't feel like they were doing what I wanted them to do. So I just ended up not doing a video on it, which this was like was about 2:00 in the morning on Sunday. So it's like, fine, I'll do the game that I actually put some time in, because I didn't want to do a video on Manuel Samuel, because I've done videos recently on YouTube Bait, which I kind of threw Manuel Samuel into it. Not quite, but sort of. And it was just not a good weekend for gaming.
Right. Well, all right then. Why don't we move on?
Did I meet your time expectations?
You did good. I actually made it go a little bit long when I told my politics story, but you know what? I'm going to leave it. Why not? So let's move on to our community corner, which feels very weird to say after only recording for like a half an hour. Not even a half an hour. But such is the way of when you do special segments. So do you want to do Kyle's thing first?
Yeah, let's do
Timmis's?
Kyle's thing, because I'm looking forward to this.
Okay, so Kyle sent in an audio letter that specifically he told me not to listen to until recording. So what we're going to do is I am now going to go listen to it, and
we're doing it live.
Yeah. I'll get them synced up properly so that you can hear me, unless I'm so loud, because I assume it's supposed to be funny. That's just my guess. But unless I'm so loud that it causes like some weird distortion or just sounds bad, in which case I will be muted, but Rage can confirm how much I was laughing.
Oh, I've been looking forward to this.
All right, so I'm opening our email right now. Here's this thing from Kyle. Okay. This is just to help me sync. Playing it in 3, 2, 1, play.
What's up, all you members of the Scrub Squad? This is Crash, and we're going to be coming at you about Grand Theft Auto 4. Alright, so Grand Theft Auto 4, it's basically an open-world sandbox game that... Hello?
Hey, Crash, it's your cousin. Want to go bowling and maybe get a little shit-faced afterwards?
No, sorry,
Okay.
guys. I'm recording something for the VGL podcast right now. Maybe I can catch you up some other time, alright?
Okay, cousin, I'll hold you to that. I'll catch you later.
Alright, sorry about that, brosifs and brosofinas. Alright, so as I was saying, Grand Theft Auto 4. I'd like to talk a little bit about it because it's probably going to be the next Game Club game after this vote goes in, and... Son of a bitch. Hello?
Hey, Crash, it's your cousin. You want to go bowling or to the movies? Or you want to go out and get shit-faced and pick up lusty women?
Okay, look, dude, this takes a lot longer than I think you think it does to record one of these, so... Listen, I will call you when I have time, okay? Okay? Wait, is that okay?
Yeah, okay, I guess that's okay. Anyways, I'll talk to you later, cousin. Maybe some other time we'll do something.
Anyway, so as I was saying, Grand Theft Auto 4, it's a really good game with actually a pretty engaging story. It's pretty long, and you meet some really good characters along the way. I personally like Brucey quite a bit. And anywho, so, oh my Jesus fuck, dude. Seriously. Alright, look, Kerbin, I swear to Christ, you better be going somewhere with this, because you cannot be asking me about bowling again. It has literally been less than a minute. You do understand that, right?
Okay, geez, cousin, maybe some other time. I mean, after all, you are Mr. Big Shot Astronaut, right? Going up into space, doing all the research, yeah, you know what it is. Alright, I'll talk to you later.
So Grand Theft Auto 4 is a really good game. It's got a lot of good guns and a lot of really cool story beats, and it has a really nice Eastern European story. It only has one major drawback that I can think of, and that major drawback is... Is it done? I mean, I'm not kidding, guys. I might lose my shit if he calls again. I'm not kidding. Okay, so Grand Theft Auto 4 is definitely what we should be picking for the Game Club, because it's going to be the game that you're going to get the most enjoyment out of. Now, you're going to need about the 2 weeks in order to play it, and oh my god, are you kidding me? Okay, what, dude? What do you actually want?
Hey, Crash, I was just wondering, were you going to be sitting in something this week? Hello? Crash? Hello?
I can't work under these clothes, I swear to god, I just... Cloud in the woods, windmilling his... Which is no better than Sean Murray being primed to take Peter Molyneux's up his... Okay, well, anyways, Grand Theft Auto 4 is a game that you should vote for because it's a lot of fun, and I feel that it actually shaped the sandbox genre of gaming. So, anyway, this has been Crash, signing off.
Oh. Breathe. Oh.
You okay over there?
Oh, I heard it hurts. My diaphragm hurts. Oh, that was incredible. Like, so the Roman bits were great. Like, that was where all of those chuckles came from. I'm sure you figured that, but that was where all the little chuckles came from. And then I kind of started losing it when you were there.
Now you know why I knew exactly what was in that.
Yeah. I figured that he had told you, like, hey, make sure Jared doesn't listen to this. Oh, I hurt. So yeah, Rage, in case all of that laughing and coughing has to be cut at the end, confirm that I lost
you enjoyed
it.
yourself.
Oh, that was great. Oh. I'll probably put it at the very end, and just in case you want to listen to it without me over the top of it. But yeah, that was great. Good job, Kyle.
Only problem now is that the bar has been set very high.
Yes, the bar has been set very high for both you and other people.
Yeah, Kyle had the idea to put me in that. I was too happy to oblige.
Kyle, you're my hero this week.
And I love just the very end. Yeah, you hear the phone going off again.
Oh. Okay. So, I mean, do we have anything that we want to talk about with that, or was that just
that was
big
just
gag?
comedy?
Okay. All right.
That, and I think Kyle wants to play GTA instead of having to buy Skyrim.
Well, Kyle, if that's the case, then you better get out there and start stuffing that ballot.
Oh,
because
my.
GTA is pretty far behind.
Or he's just trying to solicit copies of Skyrim.
Maybe. Skyrim currently on sale? I don't think it was on the sale.
No, and it would actually surprise me if Skyrim goes on sale at any time soon, because the extended version, or it's the enhanced version that is going on sale next week.
Oh, is that next week that drops?
I'm pretty sure it is.
Then that means that for Game Club, as long as Skyrim wins, we'll get to play The new version. Amazing.
I'm not going to be able to play the new version. I don't have the DLC. And I'm not going to...
Oh, wait, here it is. Skyrim Special Edition. Release date October 28th. So it'll be past. Oh, well.
What are you talking about? Because it'll be during the Game Club for Skyrim that it releases.
Will it?
We do Alan Wake on the 25th.
Right. You're right.
So if Skyrim wins, a few days afterwards, the special edition releases. Which I'm not going to play because I don't have the DLC, and I'm not buying Skyrim again.
Well, I guess then we can compare, because I have all of the DLC, so I'll get the free upgrade.
Yeah, it's just Skyrim's DLC has never gone on sale, and I got the base version, and honestly, I'm bordering into what I will be seeing in the Game Club, but I didn't really particularly care for Skyrim.
Yeah, you've talked about it before. I think you said you played it, if I remember correctly, for 20 hours?
Let's see what my time says on this. 23 hours on Skyrim, which is very low for an Elder Scrolls game.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Morrowind, I had multiple characters that were 100 hours a pop. And Oblivion, I had a 100-hour character. Actually, a couple of them.
Yeah. Well, Skyrim on PC, I've only played for 40 hours, but I had it on Xbox 360 and have played many hundreds there. So, but yeah, we shouldn't talk about this too much because there is a pretty strong potential that we're going to be playing Skyrim, so we should hold off.
Yeah, I guess I should start looking into my base mods.
Right. Okay, well, with all of that out of the way then, let's go to Kimis's audio letter, which is a pretty big one. Mm-hmm. So everybody strap in.
Oh, my.
It's
wait, you said strap in, not strap on.
It's time for Kimis.
Greetings everybody, Kimis here again. Last week I received a message from a friend of a friend who was looking for people with Unity experience. I replied in English as it's my preferred language, especially when talking about programming and using a lot of technical jargon, listing all my abilities and attaching a standalone build of the game I wrote for a course last semester, ending with an inquiry for more information. I received a reply in broken English saying all my information will be relayed to the actual team, as I'm only talking to the enthusiast of the project who has nothing to do with it. I remarked on Twitter that it all sounded like a "we should totally buy a bar" deal. A week after that, sitting bored at the lecture, I get another email, this time from the team leader, and couldn't help laughing out loud. I took some small liberties translating it, but trust me, the original is no less absurd. Enjoy.
Have you ever had a dream that you want him to do you so much you could do anything?
Come on, did you really expect me to translate and read out a 1000-word email, preferably in my best Apple Keynote presenter voice? I asked him for the technical details, what Unity add-ons and external software we'll be using, what is the VR hardware and full body tracking system that they've set up, and whether I can see any proof of concept. Instead, I've received a pile of drivel with a lot of imagine and no specifics. I have better stuff to do. Like what, you ask? That's a good point. Give me a sec, I'll think of something. In the meantime... Welcome, Dominic. Excuse me for taking so long to write, but lately we have had a lot on our heads. I hope you don't mind that I will be using Polish. Side note, I do. I forwarded your email and the game to our Unitor. He'll be judging it today. Side note, yes, that's what he calls Unity programmers. In case of any questions, he'll be in contact with you. That's from the technical side. From the meritorical perspective, it is indeed hobbyists that we're looking for. People for whom it's more important to work qualitatively rather than quantitatively. As with all startups, people engaged in them have a lot of money on paper but walk in leaky shoes. All of it to work with interesting products. All of it to work for yourself. We are not a corporation. We long for passion, not kill it. As to our organization, no, we do not plan to open an indie studio. At least not in the common sense of the word. For a year I've been toying with VR with my boys from the Wrocław University of Technology. We are trying to use the technology to create the perfect game. Side note, Sean Murray called you're infringing his copyright. A game where your body is the controller and you are the hero. Obviously, home environment is out of the question. We are currently negotiating a rental of 600 square meter basement in the center of the city. Side note, that's a shit ton of rent money. There are 5 of us. Me with a degree in economics and experience in multiple companies in Poland and China, an engineer in robotics, high-level programmer specializing in neural networks, a graphic designer, and a unitor. Side note, titles even more stupid in Polish, never mind irrelevant. For such an immense project there are far too few of us. Until the end of the month we plan to start testing the prototype. 2 players throwing a disc like in the movie Tron. Full body tracking and free movement across a small space and start making money from it. All of it is however mostly to mitigate the biggest operational risk from the side of external financing. Staff. We need to show the future investor that we are able to create commercially ready product, sell it and manage the company. And then seize the financing for a full arena. Everything, including a rental deal, has already been negotiated and ready. The only issue is our complete lack of money. As you can see, we are all about the specific. Side note. Now is the time to act. Right now we're gathering people through acquaintances. You're pretty much the first person I'm writing to. Once my boys process the photo session into a promo poster, we're casting the wider net for those with Unity experience. Every candidate will be responsible for creating part of the prototype. Side note, do the job for us, maybe we'll hire you later. We'll see how well they do, how they work with us, and how their code compares to ours. If you're up to the task and our unitor decides you're worth our time, you'll be invited for a meeting where you'll obviously have to sign an NDA before I'll be able to provide any more details. But before you hop on board, you need to understand what you're getting into. We can't promise anything. Side note, that's all you do. And it would be a shame to waste each other's time. We're looking for people ready to take on the risk and work without pay like we did for a year. Believing in the revolutionary idea and future profits. We are not in a Silicon Valley, and in this country looking for an investor and negotiations can take, let's say, half a year. It won't be until then we see any money. Side note, first mention of viability. According to my calculations, it will be a lot of money. But don't worry, even though we're using a business model and technology nobody in the whole world has seen before, your salary will be proportional to the profits. Side note, I have no idea what this sentence is about either. Like all startups, you have to risk everything to win everything. Additionally, there is the motivational factor. After Wrocław, we are planning to expand our arenas further, across whole Poland. Where else, time will tell. Obviously, after receiving the financing, we can delegate all work to an external studio. That would be way easier and more reliable. But we see our company as our own, well put together team. We want to be independent and flexible. Start working right now and we'll destroy any competition. Another thing is time. It's clear to us you need to live off something. Some of us have jobs, others study, but it's necessary to make sacrifices. An hour a day will not do. So for a year we haven't had a good night's sleep and our social life is dead. You need to be prepared for it. By the way, side note, best by the way I've seen in a while, the NDA contains a clause saying we own all rights to everything you create, all the code, designs and solutions. Obviously, including those you'll need to provide to candidate for the position. Side note, difficult to precisely translate, but original seems to suggest he's talking about everything I create during the period of the NDA, even in spare time unrelated to the project. Only then can we sign a long-term deal for a salary dependent on whether or not we can find an investor. As you can see, we have nothing to hide. Side note, except any tale of a working product. It won't be easy. Our plan demands tolerating a huge risk, self-discipline, and a specific way of life. I'll just tell you this is nothing compared to how everyone else was recruited a year ago from science clubs of the university. Back then, I only had market research, an idea, and 10,000 euro of capital. Side note, he fucking said they're broke now. In exchange, there's a significant chance we'll be the trendsetters in esports for the next decades. So think about it carefully. There's no need to rush, and let us know when we can meet to continue the talks. You know, as fun as it was to read about a small team promising to win the world with a marvel of a video game, especially in the light of recent events, I felt disgusted as I continued to read how our relationship would look like. To learn anything more, I would have to sign an NDA and waive my rights to any intellectual property I create. Then, after coding parts of the game, I sign a contract to work for a promise of a pay, all the while listening to how we're revolutionizing the industry. I nonetheless replied with a nicely worded encouragement saying I'm looking forward to hearing about their product in the news. I didn't specify what results I'm expecting to see. The next email I received was definitely not a marketing pitch finely crafted over the course of multiple days. It simply said that if I'm afraid I'm not up to the task, they only care about my enthusiasm, not my skills, and if it's the risk I'm scared of, then he's sure he can convince me to take it anyway. Pointing out all the flaws in the plan as well as the horrible proposed conditions and overall abuse of buzzwords yielded another reply. This time I was called a moron. Apparently they need a lot of people because of how ambitious the project is, but they've also spent 15k on developing it already, so it's pretty much ready for release and they only need me coding the crucial elements to test me. Then I was confronted with the hard truth about the reality of working conditions in this country, promised I will never find a better deal, and they will reluctantly share all the profits with me, as long as I keep in mind there probably won't be any, but don't worry, they had a lot of people say it's a smart idea. Surprisingly, nothing about the IP hellhole they're dragging people in. Oh, and proof they've actually created anything? Classified. Making sense of the whole conversation required a lot of reading, taking notes, some graph paper, and a pirated copy of MATLAB. After a while I got bored talking to a madman constantly switching from insulting me to spinning PR bullshit and stopped replying. If over the course of next couple years we all end up in a VR dystopia with the name Unity V Realms tattooed on our foreheads, remember, I tried to stop it. Kmis, signing off.
All right, thank you, Chemist, for a very, enlightening experience, I guess. Enlightening story. I do find that fascinating.
I think your friend is Peter Molyneuxing. Oh, sorry, I should update my language. Your friend is Sean Murraying.
Oh, poor old No Man's Sky.
Hey, we can't let the horse go without a whack every single week. We have to make sure that it's still dead.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's as dead as both Hello Games and, unfortunately, United Front Games.
Yeah.
Which I'm disappointed on the latter because, well, they produce sleeping dogs. Or did you not see that news today?
I didn't see that news today.
I am shoehorning in a little bit of news into this.
You would do.
But United Front Games supposedly is shutting down. I haven't seen any confirmation on that just yet, but disappointing. But then again, they haven't really done anything outside of Sleeping Dogs, and they didn't really have the rights to Sleeping Dogs. So, yeah. It's just kind of weird that they shut down in the middle of a free weekend for their latest game and pulled their game from sale during a free weekend. Oh, I bet people are pissed about that.
Yeah. Well, Chemist, in relation to your story, my dad owns his own business, and I worked with him for a number of years before I went to and got my master's degree and started doing counseling and stuff. But I have seen my fair share of these proposals. I don't know the situation well enough to whether or not I'd want to call it a scam. It either sounds scammy to me, like someone's trying to scam people out of work, especially with your description of the NDAs and like you having to sign over work that you do that's not even related to the project. But it might just be incompetence. But I've seen my fair share of these, and it's always fascinating what people think that they can sweet talk out of other people. Although enough of them work, otherwise people wouldn't do it.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, the thing is that if this isn't a scam, and this is somebody being completely genuine, I don't think he has a clue of just what's required to make it really into the game industry because, it is a very labor and financially intensive, industry to really get into. It requires a lot of work, and there's no guarantees. Well, let's put it this way. There are literally 10,000 games on Steam right now. How are you going to try to differentiate yourself? Really, to make it, you need a lot of luck and most likely a friend in the game industry or the games journalism to really try to push you forward. Otherwise, you're just going to be lost in the background noise.
Yeah, and 10,000 games on Steam doesn't even cover the many thousands of games that exist, both on other platforms to purchase from,
I was just
and
using
also
Steam
like tons of free platforms.
I was just using Steam as an example, just because they hit the 10,000 mark just a couple weeks ago, and it's a nice round number.
Yeah,
but yeah, it does sound very scamish to me. But you also really need to watch out what you dive into with friends, because otherwise you may end up on a Tuesday night recording a podcast or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Speaking of chemists and recording podcasts, he talked to me the other day about potentially coming on to another episode.
Oh, really?
Yep. He can't record on Tuesdays, but he can record on Wednesdays. And I told him we would talk about it, and we're here right now, and we're talking about it. Not next week, because next week is Game Club.
Yeah.
And he's never played Alan Wake, and most of that episode is kind of locked up. So, but maybe the next week.
Yeah, and plus, even though we didn't have news this week, I have been adding news topics.
Yeah.
But still, because I can't help myself. It's sort of like me with my word list. I'll see a word, it's like, ooh, and just add that to the list.
Yeah. So, what do you say, Rich? Chemists in 2 weeks? We record it on Wednesday night instead of a Tuesday night?
Assuming that you feel like editing that quickly, because that's going to be more on to you than me.
I'll give it my best shot. But yeah, Chemist, I'll send you a Google Calendar invite and make sure that I understood you correctly, because talking about time zones can be difficult at best.
Yeah, we kind of learned that this week.
Yeah.
But I, for one, blame Jared for that. Okay, and I partly blame Google. I think Google sent out your first invite that had the wrong time on it.
Yeah, because I had to go in and fix it. So it was correct on my calendar, but you had the wrong time and Aki had the wrong time.
Yeah, more importantly, Aki had the wrong time.
Yeah, that's true. But we got it all sorted out, as you guys will hear soon enough.
Obviously.
So, yeah. I mean, this is back to kind of Chemist's letter, kind of wrapping it up. I mean, this is all fascinating. I find it really interesting. And I think it is a good sign that someone contacted you, even if it was kind of either, a scam or just people with the wrong idea, like the wrong business ideas. But, I mean, that's a good sign. You're still in college, working on all this stuff. You talked to me yesterday, or maybe it was the day before, about a new game that you're working on developing in Unity. So, I mean, hey, some attention means that you're doing something right. Or something wrong. But I'm going to choose to believe that it's something right because I like you.
I just had a thought. I had a thought, and I need to share this thought.
Okay.
What if his friend is a contact from Squad?
That would be interesting.
I couldn't help myself. What can I say?
Well, all right. With that out of the way, how about our tweets for the week?
Okay, tweets. Well, first of all, we have the question of the week, which was, as soon as I scroll down to it, this was kind of a meta thing, just because wanted to have something different for once. Which do you prefer for the podcast? More topics with less time spent on them, or fewer topics with more in-depth talks? Since we kind of had our chock full of topics episode last week.
Yeah.
Let's see, Chemist. More topics, longer discussion. 24-hour episodes every day. Never stop recording. Feed our hunger. Let us watch your life.
Well.
And Grieve, only 24 hours? We need 24/7. Never stop listening. So, yeah, there was some helpful feedback.
I don't think you guys want to watch my life. I deal with a lot of very sad, depressing things.
Plus, I imagine there'd be a lot of snoring on the podcast.
Yeah.
Particularly because we don't have the same sleep cycle. So while you're doing something interesting, you'll just hear me in the background.
Speaking of snoring, last week, or not last week, when we were recording with Aki on Friday, Katie was snoring so loud in the bedroom that some of it got picked up on the mic. I noticed it in post because I could see all the little waveforms, and I was like, "What is that?" So I went and I listened to it, and I was like, "That's snoring."
Well, that will make Aki feel very popular.
Well, I mean, she was gonna sleep anyways. But yeah, there would be a lot of snoring.
Okay, tweets. I had to kind of trim things down because things got a little crazy in a particular discussion. Chemist responding to the Game Club poll. GTA 4, the game Steam tells me I have played for an hour, but all it was the launcher crashing. That doesn't sound promising, does it?
Nope.
I think I know where he voted. He voted for Wildstar.
And probably also Skyrim.
Kyle, I don't own Skyrim, which sparked an absolutely huge discussion, which I had to trim down. Basically, skipped all of it because it was mostly just people going back and forth saying, you should buy Skyrim. And personally, I think he's just trying to solicit copies of Skyrim and have people send it to him. But yeah, Chemist Groove and himself just went into this long spiel about Skyrim. Which, in the midst of it, Chemist and Groove almost had a VGL con. But then decided that was too far to walk.
There you go. Laziness. I approve.
And then lipstick down on Jared playing Alan Wake. Still one of my favorite games.
Yep. Which, did I say this when we were recording, or was it when we were pre-recording? About Katie?
I'm not sure.
Well, I'll say it again, and if I said it before, then it'll just be on here double. But Katie is watching me play Alan Wake.
Oh, yeah, you said that in the beginning. But go ahead. Since you've already started it.
Yes, Katie's watching me play Alan Wake, and is going to be sending in some audio content for it. I'm going to help her record that next week.
Yeah, which I'm
Obviously
looking forward
before
to.
Recording.
Well, have her do it live.
I don't think I could convince her to do that. I don't know, maybe. She did mention, she's like, because, we talk while we play the games. And she's like, maybe we should just, record us doing this some. And I was like, are you serious? Because that's how you get me to buy lots of audio equipment.
Please, I could only be so erect.
I told her, I said, if you're serious about this, we can talk about it, and I'll set up something with what I've got and give it a test run. And if it's something that works for us, I absolutely will buy audio equipment.
And then suddenly things get weird.
You have no idea.
So that was all the tweets. If you wish to tweet us, you could do so at VGL Podcast on Twitter, or if you wish to send us emails, which you don't have to put as much production time into it as Kyle did. Chemist's audio letter is still very valid, or you don't even have to send them as audio. You can send text letters. We will stumble and mispronounce words in all your text letters. And you do that at vglpodcast@gmail.com.
Yep. I think I'm going to twist an arm. Groove, I want you to send us a letter this time. Twisting an arm. Step it up, buddy.
Well, see,
right.
Here's the problem: is that Groove's sending a letter that that might be a little bit closer to dumb labor than what he's willing to do.
Make it an intellectual letter. Pick an intellectual topic.
And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, Groove was in my RimWorld Let's Play, and he was a character that refused to do dumb labor, and Groove took it and ran with it.
Yep. All right. Well, let's move on to our Steam Weekly Deal recommendations. We each have, I have 2 games.
I technically have 2.
You have 2 suggestions, yes. Rage, what's your first one?
I could hear the judgment on you. My first one is the Ultra Bundle, which is most of actually I think it's all the games from Puppy Dog Games. Puppy Dog Games is a retro-inspired game developer. And this is a bundle that has 4 games in it with 2 pieces of DLC for one of their games. I'll quickly go through them. Droid Assault is a 2D adventure shooter where all these have essentially the same art assets, which it can be a little weird going in between them because you'll look at them, it's like, okay, that game is that, but what is this game? Because it's very confusing, but they do their art style really well. It's like modern versions of 8-bit classics.
Right.
Which one of them is essentially Space Invaders, which I'll get to in just a moment. But Droid Assault, very fast-paced 2D shooter, a lot of fun. Revenge of the Titans is probably their most well-known game. It was released in a Humble Bundle. Matter of fact, I think they've had a couple Humble Bundles with their various games in it, but Revenge of the Titans was in one of the early Humble Bundles. It is a tower defense game that has no mazing in it, which kind of gets a leg up from me because I absolutely hate mazing in tower defense games where you're trying to make the creeps try to take this long convoluted path by placing all your turrets in weird ways. It just always felt odd to me. But this is very more freeform, and you have to be a little careful because at times you'll see enemies break off from the main pack and try to go around, which feels actually a little bit more realistic, actually.
Yeah.
And it has a scaling difficulty curve, so if you fail a bunch of times on a level, it'll actually bring down the difficulty level, or if you're doing too well, it'll actually ramp the difficulty up. So you may or may not like that. It really depends on your particular style.
I really like scaling difficulty.
Let's see, Titan Attacks, which is essentially Space Invaders, only a high-def version of it with a bunch of power-ups and a bunch of extra bells and whistles. Not a lot to talk about there. It's a very simple game. And then Ultratron, which is a 2D arena shooter, which is, if you look at the screenshots between this and Droid Assault, they look very similar, but Ultratron is the arena shooter instead of just a generic 2D shooter. A lot of fun, very fast-paced, a lot of particle effects going on. But I've really enjoyed all of these games. I have all of them. Only thing I don't have is the DLC, which is the soundtrack for Revenge of the Titans, and Sandbox mode for Revenge of the Titans, which was released pretty far post-launch. So I don't have too big a gripe with that being DLC, even though I would prefer it to be in the base game. Since it was released so far after the launch, it's not that big a deal to me. But normally, this entire package, the total cost of the package is $45.94 with all the games in DLC. Cost of the package is $24.99 normally. It's 53% off, bringing it down to $11.74.
Fancy.
And if you like your retro games with a bit of a HD skin on them, then this is a good one to go after. And Puppy Games is a pretty good developer, at least from what I've played. And I haven't really heard anything bad about them.
Sweet. Well, my first game is Iron Sky Invasion. I do believe I've recommended this once before, but regardless, in the 1940s, the Nazis weren't defeated. They merely retreated to the moon. And now the Fourth Reich is going to get its revenge on the Earth. It's this really, really stupid, so bad it's good game that is an arcade space combat game where you fly various spaceships, fighters, bombers, etc., in like the very near future. Like,
this has full motion video.
It does have full motion video. It's amazing. Think of like the old school Westwood style, kind of over the top, overacting full motion video. That's what you get with this. It controls pretty well. It's nothing to write home about, but the game it mostly sells itself on a combination of the humor from the full motion video and just like the absurdity of the whole thing. Like, Nazis have come back from the moon.
They're after the space Jews.
They're yes. Yeah. We're Jews in space.
I'm glad you got that reference.
Oh. But no, this game is amazing. And also awful. It's wonderful. It's got this weird pseudo open world map navigation where you like fly around the different sectors around Earth and the moon and do all kinds of crazy missions, and like it's constantly going. So the Nazis are actively invading, and like you'll get a call from a ship and it's like, oh, come help me. Like the International Space Station is now a warship that just flies around. And what's the Russian one?
Mir?
Yeah. Mir is a space station that just flies around as well.
It has things just randomly crash into it.
Sometimes. But they've got like giant laser cannons and there's space Nazi zeppelins and it's ridiculous.
Space Nazi zeppelins.
Yeah. Space Nazi space zeppelins.
Okay.
You just have to see it. I've actually considered recording this for, Let's Playing this for a while, but I just never have gotten around to it. It's wonderful. It's so bad.
I'll still put it on my wish list and may pick it up at some point in the future.
I love it. And I would buy it with a DLC. Also buy the DLC. The DLC is also 80% off. The game is 80% off. Normally it's $20. Now it's $4. The DLC 60 cents each. You should totally buy it. One of them, it adds which one is it? Meteor Blitzkrieg, I believe, is the one that adds like a horde mode, and you basically just protect the Earth for as long as you can, and you get to order around like the ISS and Mir and the other things that are in the game. It's like, okay, you go over here and defend this, and you defend that, and that's a blast. And then Second Fleet is a second campaign that is also full of hilariousness and weird wackiness. It's wonderful. You should absolutely buy this game. All right, your turn.
You always love to get the weird ones.
I do. I love games like this.
Well, I'm going off the Steam weekly deals and doing what's technically in the midweek deal, but it's lasting long enough that it's relevant.
Okay.
And you know me, I always bend the rules anyway.
You do. You bend or break the rules on a regular basis.
Hey, if rules weren't made to be broken, then why would we have them? Okay, so my second pick is Fallout New Vegas Ultimate Edition. My favorite of the modern Fallout games. Granted, I haven't played Fallout 4, mostly because the Fallout 4 is still rather expensive. I mean, granted, it is on sale right now as well, but yeah, I'm just waiting for the Ultimate Edition or whatever they're going to eventually call it. So, Fallout New Vegas. This is the Obsidian take on the Fallout universe. And there's always been this, kind of back and forth between this and Fallout 3. The way I always look at it is that Bethesda is really good at building worlds. Obsidian is really good at building stories and characters. And honestly, the characters in Fallout New Vegas is a lot more memorable than the characters in Fallout 3. As a matter of fact, I can't even remember, what was the name of the main bad guy in Fallout 3?
Baddie McBad.
A guy in the trench coat that...
no, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
I can picture him. I just don't know his name.
Well, the bad guy in Fallout Vegas is Caesar.
Yes.
That's trying to enslave the West, heading west to take on the New Republic. It's a really, really good story, and a story that you have a lot of choice in, actually. You take on one of three factions and go through those. Do your own thing, work with the New California Republic, or work with Caesar. Or Caesar, if you wish to use the Latin pronunciation, which I probably just butchered. But hey, that's my thing anyway.
Yeah.
A lot of mods. This is a fairly old game. A lot of mods to work with, and this does include all the DLC, which by far my favorite part is the old world blues. It's very Aperture Science-esque. I think that's a good way to say it without really spoiling anything. Well, that and the phrase hand penises. Oh, yeah, good times all around. And that's not to say that the other DLCs are bad. It's just that other DLCs have different takes on the Fallout universe. One is more survival horror. One is pretty much your traditional Fallout-esque expansion, very similar to the main story. Then one is really just to wrap up all the loose ends from the main story. A few loose ends with another character that you've heard a lot about but never really encountered until that DLC, which I won't really spoil anything about that. But very good all around, and like I said, it's my favorite Fallout of the modern era. Granted, I've always meant to go back and play the old Fallout games, but it's kind of hard to do that at this point. It's once you get to past a certain point, it's hard to go back, you know?
Yeah. I've played them in the last 5 years. The stories hold up, but the gameplay is... I mean, it's old, you know?
Yeah.
It's not that it's, like, bad. It's just, like, we've come so far since this. I will say about Fallout New Vegas, compared to Fallout 4, the storytelling of New Vegas is better, but the gameplay mechanics of Fallout 4... with the exception of potentially the dialogue tree, depending on how you feel, or the way the conversations are handled.
Yes, no, sarcastic response, it means yes.
Yeah, basically. Aside from that aspect, the gameplay of Fallout 4 is way better than New Vegas.
Not to say that New Vegas isn't good.
No, New Vegas is a good
really
game.
Well. And there are a lot of mods out there that improves New Vegas. And Fallout 4 is starting to get to that point, but... it hasn't hit really critical mass on the number of mods it has.
Yeah.
And there's actually a mod... I need to double check, make sure that Fallout 3 is on sale as well. 1 second. Because there is actually a mod that links Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. And it is on sale as well. But it does have a notice. Fallout 3 is not optimized for Windows 7 and later.
Yeah, I think Fallout 3 is 32-bit... It's a 32-bit game.
Yeah, which it really has trouble with. But yeah, there's a mod that will allow you to essentially play through Fallout 3 and then go to Fallout New Vegas if you want to have a single character that kind of just spans that entire era.
Yeah.
Because if I recall correctly, the timelines kind of match up somewhat. I think Fallout New Vegas is... several years after the events of Fallout 3, but I can't recall exactly the timeline. But it's
I don't remember.
It's an interesting take if you wish to have a continuous character. Granted, there are things in Fallout New Vegas that would have trouble with from a Fallout 3 character, but I'm sure the mod handles that fairly well. The modding community in both the games are just amazing. But that's Fallout New Vegas Ultimate Edition. Oh, and this does have also all the pre-order DLC that pre-order stuff that was eventually put in DLCs and all that sort of thing. So you do have essentially the entire package. It is normally only $20, $19.99. It's 40% off right now, bringing it down to $11.99, and well worth it.
Yeah, you're making me want to go play Fallout 4. Maybe I will this week. I do need a break from spin tires, which I'll be talking about just shortly.
Well, Fallout 4 is $30 right now. I'm just not convinced about it just yet. I want to wait till all the DLC is out and for the Game of the Year edition, essentially. Plus, it also gives time for the modding community to really take off. And it's not exactly rated all that highly right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I played Fallout 4 for about 40 hours. I got through the main story, and I was like, okay, I'll come back and play this more later. And then that was like 8 months ago. It's not that I haven't wanted to come back, but when I do, now that I do podcasting regularly and streaming regularly and yada yada, my time to play games for me is a little bit fewer and farther between than it used to be. No, I mean, it's not your fault. It's my fault. You know, like, it's not that I don't enjoy what I do, but it's like very rarely do I just play games to play games. 90% of the time I'm recording and stuff like that, so.
Well, welcome to my world.
Yeah. But anyways, okay. Well, my second game is Train Fever. I've talked about Train Fever like 5,500 million billion times. The next game, Transport Fever, is coming out very soon. But if you don't want to play the new one just yet, if you want to focus more on trains and automobiles only, Train Fever is there for you. It is normally $30. It's currently $6. And I'm trying to think about what I can say in just a couple minutes that I haven't already said on many episodes of old. It's probably one of the best, most realistic train sim games that I've played without being like too crazy. It walks the line between, okay, this game is way too sim heavy and this game is way too arcadey. It feels very much like the classic Sid Meier's Railroad games with just modern, updated graphics. The economy system works great. It's pretty stable. It does have some issues with AMD cards. I noticed some problems when I went from my GTX 750 to my RX 480, but a couple of driver updates and some optimization on my settings, and I got things working just fine. I've played this game for 70 hours, give or take.
Wow, expected 700.
Well, I'm pretty good at the game, so I don't have to like restart all the time. I've got 2 games going, one on the European side and one on the US side, and both of them are, I really have to screw up to actually lose. But transport cargo. Passengers, don't ignore your passengers, but cargo's where you make all your money. In Train Fever.
It's like real life nowadays.
Yep,
or at least in
much.
the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I think the train industry, if you buy a ticket from them to ride the train, they are rather resentful of you. It's like, we could use that space for cargo. What are you doing? Go fly an airplane.
Or drive a car. Okay, well, that does it for our Steam weekly deal recommendations.
Yeah, and if you wish to see the master list, which I still need to update, I'm way behind on that. You could see that in our Steam curator, which is a follow in our Steam group, which is steamcommunity.com/group/VGL podcast. We'll get that updated eventually. I've kind of been holding off on it just because I know that the moment I go through and do the last month or 2 months of episodes, that update that we talked about to the Steam curator will hit, and I'll have to redo a good chunk of what I've already just done. So that's kind of why I've been holding off. That and just pure laziness.
Yeah. I've seriously, just kind of waiting until the update, honestly. It did start out as lazy, and then I got to thinking, well, I'll probably have to change a bunch of stuff. So I might as well just wait. And that allowed my laziness to be like, yeah, you should totally wait.
Yeah, but we'll be doing more with the curator as soon as Jared remembers to do stuff with the curator. And, well, I should say the Steam group.
Yeah.
That's your domain.
Yeah. I'm not going to, I'll do it when I do it. I'm not going to make promises anymore. Something always comes up.
In the background, you just hear snoring.
All right. Well, let's. I almost forgot to make the transition into the pre-recorded portion.
Professional podcasting, everyone. Professional podcasting.
Absolutely. Coming up now, you're going to hear the pre-recorded portion of the podcast where we had Akinesis Gaming on as our guest. We did a little pre-roll at the beginning, so I will let me, from a few days ago, take over for the next 2-ish hours, and we'll see you in the present after that's over. Hello and welcome to a special segment of the Video Game Logic podcast, which was recorded on October the 14th, 2016. We have with us our special guest, which will of course be mentioned in the intro to the show, Akinesis Gaming. Welcome on to Video Game Logic podcast. How are you, sir?
Very well, thank you for having me. Very excited, very nervous at the same time.
Yes, thank you for coming on. We've got a couple of topics planned, and then we're just going to meander for the next hour or so, because we kind of blew away probably half of the 2 hours that you said that you had when we started, just, going on at the beginning. But we do intend to talk about KSP. We will give you some time at the end where that you can plug your stuff mercilessly on our show.
Yes,
And,
you will be shilling.
Yeah, and we'll see where we go between here and there. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I got it in one go, by the way, Rage. So, screw you.
I thought I'd play a little bit. I was going to interrupt, but I thought, no, don't get cocky at this stage of the podcast. I don't know how you guys operate yet.
I mean, you could interrupt. We interrupt each other all the time. I used to rag on Biff and Nos for that, and then I started doing this, and I was like, oh, it just kind of happens.
You kind of have to sometimes.
Well, the thing is that we're not in the same location, so we can't do visual cues to talk or not talk. Well, technically we could if we both had webcams, but that's beside the point.
That's actually a very fine art. The queuing. Recognizing
What
the
is?
queuing. The queuing.
Oh. You mean visual, audio, or both?
Well, both. I mean, visual's easier, of course, but the audio stuff. People can recognize it, but yeah, you need to be together for a very long time, I think.
Well, Rage, you and I have been a couple for over a year now.
Yeah,
we've been
and
podcasting for about 8 months.
Yeah, the podcast hasn't quite hit its 1 year anniversary, which we did kind of screw that up, and we got our 1 year anniversary right around Christmas time. That means we're only going to get one gift.
But you are a beautiful couple, though. You work very well together.
Thank you, Aki.
That's okay.
Aw.
How
You
much-
don't need to suck up. You're already on the show.
Oh, right.
I have a question for you, Aki. How much experience do you have streaming, podcasting, recording, etc.? Like, I know you've been doing Boosters in Space State for a while, and then you guys had I'm drawing a blank.
Spaceport
The
or
podcast.
Space Dock.
Yeah. You guys did 3 episodes of that. So
Yeah, that was
yes.
Million Lights
You have.
things.
Yeah, that was really nice. Well, we've only just crossed our 1 year anniversary in Boosters in Space State. I say just, it was July that we did that. And
Well,
I
you've
started-
also had a bit of a break between them. Sorry.
Well, we've had a lot of breaks, yeah, because I decided to move to the other hemisphere of the planet, which took a chunk of time out. Then I've just had a kid, which taken another chunk of time out. Keep taking. It's only my fault, by the way, because if you notice, if I'm not there, then the podcast doesn't record. So,
Well, it's because you edit the thing.
well, yeah, but if there's a break in the podcast, it's my fault because if the others go away, we carry on anyway because we're mean like that. But if I take a break, everyone's like, "No, we're not doing that editing stuff. That's silly. We're not that stupid." So the podcast just stops. Yeah. So
yeah, I'm the only one who does any editing on our show. I totally understand that. I edit all the episodes, even the episode that our B team did, Kyle and Chemist, that we've got held in reserve. I had to edit that too.
it's a very lonely place, editing.
It
Very
is, but
lonely.
it makes me feel very powerful.
It does.
I get to shape the image of the show.
The
that's right.
almighty editor.
It's also a thankless job, though. Although people do throw in a drop of appreciation every now and again, it's largely a thankless job. And unless you listen to the edited episode and also watch the live episode, you'd only then know how different the podcast is and how much editing goes in. So,
Yeah, which
I-
is
I
why
will-
we don't record live.
Yes, I will whinge about editing for as long as I'm ever doing it. So,
Yep.
yeah.
I've talked about releasing an unedited version of the podcast a couple of times, like releasing them side by side so people can see. A lot of times, we'll record for 3 hours and 45 minutes, and it gets cut down to close to 3 hours every week. And, that was kind of how I got the idea to do Franken episodes. It's like, well, we'll just cut out all that stuff that I was throwing away and keep it for whenever we're sick or busy or just need a break. But yeah, there's a big difference in the 2 episodes.
Yeah, the Franken episodes are a fantastic idea. See, that's one of the problems of streaming it on Twitch is that you don't get that luxury as much. You could do. You could.
Yeah, we've.
Go
ahead.
I say you could pull out the edits. I could put a lot of stuff out of the edit to do something similar, but for those that watch the live show, it'd be a little bit weird, I think. Which is
Yeah.
there's plenty of benefits for doing it on Twitch, but there's also the downfalls as well, as there would be without doing it on Twitch. So it's
Right.
2 very different things, but a pleasure all the same. So,
Indeed.
yeah. Well, Boosters and Space Tape, that's just over a year, and I started streaming about 3 months before that. I think it was March last year I started doing any of this. So all the video editing, the streaming, and the audio editing for the podcast and the podcasting itself has been going on for about a year and a half now, I suppose. So not that long.
Right.
It's a steep learning curve.
How, and this is another question I've had that I wanted to ask you. How much of your living, if you don't mind me asking, do you get from doing this? Because I'm not going to lie, I don't listen to all of Boosters and Space Tape. I listen every once in a while.
Yeah.
Back when Kerbal Cast was still going, their style, I guess, was more for me. And I've been getting more and more into Boosters and Space Tape because you guys are the only Kerbal podcast around now.
You've got no choice.
But I don't have a choice, basically.
You're in the ISP industry now, where you're literally the only choice for Kerbal.
Yes, that's the best way to be.
So
and I should say that I usually catch either most of the show live or all of it, and then I just don't download the podcast because I kind of already listened to it.
Well, you already listened to it, yeah. So you know what's going to happen.
Which kind of screws with me because there's a bit of a delay between the live recording and when you put out the edited version. So it's like, okay, is this the one I just listened to, or is this 2 weeks ago?
Yes. We usually record on one weekend, and then I'll try and release the edited version the weekend after. So every weekend there should be something. But of course, the edited version always trails the live recording. It doesn't always work like that. We have recorded 2 episodes before releasing an edit before. But yeah, it's the way the cards fall all the time.
Yeah, I'm not trying to say, well, you should be doing this. It's just kind of screwed with me a couple times.
No, I'm taking notes. It's fine.
But so anyways, back to my question. How much of your living do you make streaming, podcasting, recording? And if it's none, that's okay. We're in that boat.
Financially, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes, no.
Yeah, I'm a YouTuber for fun.
Yeah. I do make a little bit of money out of the streaming. I do make a little bit of money from there. The podcasting, nothing. The YouTubing, nothing. In the UK, I was actually making quite a lot of money. Most of the audio equipment I have in front of me, and computer equipment and audio equipment, is from my streams, from people contributing to the stream. And the chair that I sit on was bought for me. But over in Australia, I guess it's not only trying to get a new audience, but also being Australia in this particular time zone, a much smaller audience, the money that I made is severely reduced, next to nothing. So essentially nothing. There was a little bit of money coming in the UK, but over in Australia, no, it's negligible. It actually costs me. I make a loss from podcasting and YouTubing and streaming. It is a loss.
Yeah. Yeah. Sad day. Totally understand that.
Yeah.
We make a little bit of Patreon money, which, I mean, doesn't go into our pockets. We're right now looking for a better, more full podcast hosting service, which is where all of that is going to go. It's just kind of sitting in an account right now.
Yeah, which has proven to be rather challenging because, podcasts that put out 3-hour episodes weekly tends to be rare.
Yes.
Yeah, the only other one that I know of is the Co-optional Podcast.
Yes,
I'm sure there's a couple others, but
you're the only one I know of that does it weekly with so much content as well. The amount of content.
And we kind of smash every single data plan for these podcast hosts, even mixing down to mono and doing 64 bits on the audio stream. It's just the file size is absolutely huge when you have a monthly content.
Yeah, we're somewhere between 80 and 100 megs every episode, which, 2 of those, and that's most of the standard monthly upload plans. And we want to keep recording every week, so we're like, well, we'll figure it out eventually.
Yeah. No, I always keep the Boost and Space Tape, the edited version, between an hour and a half by the time it comes out. And with the plan I've got, which is with Libsyn, I can put up 2 episodes a month comfortably. But any extra, no. I have to reduce the file size somehow or take out a bigger plan for that.
Yeah, I looked at Libsyn and they kind of cringed.
Don't we have to pay like $40 a month to upload all of our podcasts?
Yeah, it was 40, and that's cutting it close.
And if you want
Yeah.
people to keep listening to it, you have to keep paying them as well. Because as soon as you stop paying, the podcasts go offline, from what I understand.
Yeah, which is what happened to Kerbal Cast when
Yes.
they
So-
stopped
yeah.
paying. Their RSS feed went down. I actually I did a full dump of their RSS feed and put it on archive.org. And, well, that's kind of the beauty of what we do is that we have a secondary copy of our podcast that goes to each of our YouTube channels, which actually acts as a secondary archive.
Yeah. Do you know what? And you guys doing that, I've thought about doing that for Boost and Space Ape. So although I haven't done it in a while, I'm slowly uploading all the live recordings up to YouTube. But what you guys do, I'm also thinking about putting the edited versions on there as well, just so there is always an archive somewhere for not only for people to go to in the future, but also nostalgia. Because if we ever stopped Boosters and Space Tape, a couple of years down the line, you might want to go back and listen to that and think, "Oh, that was fun. I want to reminisce. I want to listen to that episode again." And it gives you that.
Which I'm extremely lazy on. I just have a static screen and upload it. Jared does the more in-depth thing of actually having gameplay, so you have something pretty to look at.
Yes.
I use random background footage from whatever game I've been playing that week in recording, so it goes in spells. Like there's a bunch that'll be one game, and then a bunch that'll be another one as I kind of migrate from game to game.
Well, here's the thing: is that I don't really have extra footage because I'm already doing 9 other videos a week.
Wow.
So it's either me reusing footage, which is in half-hour chunks, or having the static image. And I decided to go the lazy route because I'm already doing all the show notes, which actually takes a fair amount of time because I usually end up fighting with our blog. It's an epic battle every week, just trying to get the layout just right. There's always something that screws up.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? With all of this, whether it's podcasting, YouTubing, or Twitch streaming, it's a lot of effort that goes into it. And people that go in for it just for the money get disheartened very quickly because there's not a lot of money in it, if any, at all, for most people.
Yeah, if you
do
want to
this
be,
because you like it, you love it.
Yeah, if you want to be PewDiePie, do not go into this. Do not go into YouTube.
No.
Do not go into podcasting. You are not going to make the PewDiePie money. You'll be lucky to make a break even.
Yeah.
Technically, I make money on YouTube because I get my review copies, which actually turns into Steam trading cards, which gives me a little bit of extra money in my Steam account. I get my YouTube advertisers, which I still haven't gotten a paycheck from them, but it is slowly building up.
Yeah, you have to have $100 before you can get a paycheck.
Yeah, and I think I'm under 15 still. But then again, it's goes in waves where I'll have a video for some reason that suddenly gets very popular. During the summer, I got a lot of views on my Ghostbusters Let's Play. And turns out I made more money on Ghostbusters this summer than Sony did.
Ouch.
Yeah, I made $1 on Ghostbusters.
Yeah. So for anyone out there that is wanting to get into any of this stuff, don't do it for money. You do it because you like it, you love it, you like the community, you like the reaction of people watching you and getting involved. But don't do this for money.
Yeah, I steal the line from One Punch Man. I'm a YouTuber for fun. If it turns into a job, if it turns into a paycheck for me, great. But I'm not doing this because I want to be rich and famous. As a matter of fact, looking at some of the stuff that goes on with some of the big YouTubers, seeing Total Biscuit having a breakdown because of all the stress of people just going blah, 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 blah at him. You suck. Why don't you do this video? Why don't you do that video? I don't want to be the Total Biscuit level of popular. I want to be, where I could, if I do get popular somehow, which don't know how,
the voice.
I want to be where I could, honestly, I'll listen to my voice and I hear you and Jerry praise it, and I just don't hear it. I don't think I ever will.
You'll always have a special place in my heart, Rage.
Yes.
Which that scares me, Jared.
And in my fantasies.
And that scares me more.
Oh, my.
And there's a reason why I'm going to be keeping clown makeup nearby from now on.
And a spider.
Oh, God, no. Please, no.
No, better
Two
yet.
things I hate most in this world.
No, better yet. A spider and clown makeup. And it's just a red nose with legs coming out of it walking.
Oh, I'm going to have nightmares. You're seriously going to give me nightmares tonight. Okay, we've been at this for nearly 20 minutes now. Let's transition into a topic. Because, Aki, that is also my job on this show, is to keep us moving along. Otherwise, we'd never get anywhere.
I picked up on
Which
that
he doesn't
on
do
the,
all that good a job when it's me and Kyle also together.
I can't wrangle the two of them. Most of the time, I just sit there quietly until they're finished.
Slowly shaking his head. Eddie just edits it so it's somewhat coherent.
Yes.
Yeah, I make you guys sound bad in the edit. Make me sound awesome.
You have that power.
I do.
Power of the
I'm
editor.
an almighty editor. Okay, let's move into our topic where we were going to discuss KSP. Both the 1.2 update and all of the stuff that has been going down with them.
Yeah, when we originally
that's the best way to
contacted
describe
Aki about talking about KSP, we were thought this was going to be a lucky go happy, update, nothing major going on, and then
Yeah, I know. Full of so much joy, and then all of a sudden, which one do you want to tackle first? Do you want to tackle the joy, or do you want to tackle the, I don't know what you call it, the
despair.
Oh my, yeah, despair.
Oh my,
the fear.
Well, I like to talk about the garbage first, and then we can talk about the nice stuff.
Well, for you, that could be either way. So you have to be more specific than that. Depends if
Let's talk
you're
about-
sadistic or not.
Let's talk about how their company appears to be falling apart, and
yeah, I
the
used
subreddit
I used the
exploded.
term "rats from a sinking ship," and it doesn't seem to be that far off base, to be perfectly honest.
Well, yes. I mean, we'll never know, though, will we? We will
Yeah,
never know.
well, I don't think we'll know at least for a year or two while non-disclosure agreements are still in effect.
Yes. Yes.
But here's the thing: is that once you start talking about all the drama that's going on at your past job, you're really burnt a lot of bridges. And I like to think that even though they probably haven't gotten a lot of money out of this, that they were happy with their work, because. What we talked about this a little bit in the last episode, which you obviously haven't heard yet because it came out today, where the AAA gaming industry, and I know Kerbal is definitely, I would say Kerbal is probably in the AA range where, they're a larger indie team. Were. I mean, they're down to like 2 developers now?
Yes.
2 developers, the QA team, and their public relation guy being like the Iraqi Minister of Information. There's nothing wrong.
It's all fine here as the house burns down around them. It's all fine.
But how game development has really turned into a dream job for a lot of people. And they're willing to do 70 to 80 hours, especially during crunch time, and not complain that much about it because it's their dream. They want to be able to build these games. They have these visions that they have of the perfect game. And the developers and publishers are just exploiting really a cheap workforce. That's the gist of a topic that we talked about last week. But Kerbal and Squad is kind of, the AA version of this.
It's... It goes back to what we were saying a minute ago, doesn't it? About doing things because you love them, not for the money.
Yeah.
Now, this is a little bit different, of course, because this is their job. This is what they do for a living. Not all of them. I mean, for instance, Rover Dude is contracted. He isn't employed full-time. He has his own job. He has his own life. But he also does this on the side. But for some of these guys, it was their full-time job, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's what I understood.
I think a fair number of them.
Yeah, I have the same understanding as you did.
Yeah. And some of these guys are really new as well. They've not been there long at all. Some of them weeks, isn't it? They've only been there a few weeks.
I remember talking about a couple of these guys on the last couple squad reports that I did before Kerbal's cast, kind of disappeared on me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've been gone, or they've been there 6 months at most. Or became a full-time developer, whatever their particular jobs were. I think it was Claw, that's one of the newer ones, and he's gone.
Well, I will say that in some cases, based on stuff that I've seen before, 6 months at a development studio is not necessarily a short time. It depends on what sort of work that they're doing. A lot of programmers will go from job to job, 6 months to a year, that's kind of how long they're expected to be there. I'll have to look it up later, but Extra Credits has actually got a couple episodes where they talk about what it's like to develop a game and like what different positions can expect. And certain positions, don't last for a long time at a studio.
Yeah, I would say
the size and scope
if I
of the
recall
game.
correctly, I think I remember this particular episode. They were talking particularly artists are not employed full time at development studios.
Artists, okay, yeah.
I mean, for all we know,
Because,
that some of these guys were contracted until 1.2 was released. We don't know.
Yeah,
That could have been their intention in the first place. Yeah, these contracts roll through pretty quick. Can roll through pretty quickly, especially if they are contracts and not employment.
Yeah, and this dropped just a couple of weeks before. Oh, actually, it was a week before 1.2 released. Once again, the Iraqi information minister talking about how great 1.2 is coming out while everybody's leaving. Because it was literally back-to-back posts on the subreddit, which the subreddit's also something that we could talk about, how things got a little nasty there for a while.
Yeah, I was going to mention that too.
There is a lot that... Some of this is toxic. There's a lot of toxic forum posts and everything about this as well. And some people are just in the vein of, no, it's we will never know the truth, so there's no point talking about it. Some people want to try and work out what's going on, and some people just love spreading the rumors. And of course, we had that video released recently about the guy who said that the work conditions at Squad were particularly bad. And these guys are all leaving. It adds fuel to that fire, and it's not necessarily the truth. But from where the forum readers and customers are sitting, where we're sitting, it so easily looks like Squad is just, falling apart. Especially as Harvester left as well. But it's interesting how much good things... KSP seemed to take a very good turn after Harvester left. And I think that's because Harvester was very protective of his original code. And these guys, no, we need to pull that apart and redo it. And the SAS is probably the perfect example of that. But again, it's hard to pick apart the speculation from what is actually the truth. It's so easy for people to speculate, isn't it, on the forums?
Yeah.
And
it's very easy to go down the rabbit hole. And I'm not saying that we're immune to this. I know that we've gone down the rabbit hole probably more than once, to be perfectly honest.
Well, it is fun to talk about.
Definitely with No Man's Sky.
Oh. Those are my favourite episodes from you guys at the moment. It's fun to hear and watch all this stuff about No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
It's fun to watch because I don't think it's fun to play.
At least the KSP subreddit didn't get as bad as the No Man's Sky subreddit.
I don't think anything compared to that, especially whenever you have the lead moderator just say, "That's it, I'm taking my ball and I'm going home."
I don't think we'll ever see anything to
Trump.
that extent again for a long time. I think there's a few lessons been learnt there. Well, hopefully there's a few lessons been learnt there. There better have been.
Yeah. A lot of people, and this is kind of going off topic, but that's kind of what we do. A lot of people are saying that they've learned their lesson with No Man's Sky, both in terms of the game and pre-orders and the subreddit and everything. So
Welcome to Rule 1.
People actually do that.
Welcome to Rule 1.
Thou shalt not pre-order.
Yes. I think that would have damaged pre-ordering for a lot of people. Anyway, sorry.
So in the midst of all this, Aki, what do you think is going to happen to Squad? And I'm not just mongering, like fear-mongering or whatever. Like, as someone who is in this way deeper than even we ever were.
Yeah, you actually have contact with Squad. You've talked to them, so naturally you can't break confidence. I'm assuming that you're...
but they don't actually tell us anything. They don't tell us anything. We know nothing. The only time we ever get an edge on you guys, I'll say, is when we get the experimental releases to demonstrate on the Twitch stream. That's the only time we'll ever get any insider info, if you like. So we'll get the changes, the release notes, everything a little bit earlier. We'll get documentation a little bit earlier, but that's for the experimental demonstration. Other than that, we don't get to know anything else. So the speculation is probably even more rife in the KSP chat than it is in the forums, but because we're part of it. And I'm not here to knock Squad. I'm not saying Squad shouldn't leave us in the dark as much as they do, but that's up to them. We don't have to be there, of course. We don't like it. We leave. And so the KSP TV stuff is my link to Squad. And like I say, unless it's an experimental release, we don't get any insider information. But what do I think? I'm not quite sure what to think at this stage. It's the future of KSP. If 1.2... we'll probably slide into the good stuff here. 1.2 is a very good release. Have you guys played it?
I've played a little bit of it. I didn't get to really dive into it too much because I did my usual start a career, launch a few things, and then realize that, oh crap, I need to do stuff for my YouTube channel because KSP, it's always been on the back burner of something I wanted to do on my YouTube channel. But the thing is that I dive into KSP, that's going to be somewhere in the ballpark of 200 to 300 episodes.
Yeah.
Especially whenever I go slightly mod crazy. I mean, why would I start to go crazy on mods? It's not like my RimWorld series has like 30 mods running on it or something. But
yeah, too many mods for me. Too many. No, I have not had a chance to play it. I kept intending to, but either something kept coming up or I played Spin Tires instead this week.
We need to schedule an intervention for you, by the way.
I play Spin Tires. I love Spin Tires. I've been enjoying listening to you guys talk about Spin Tires because I'm very fond of that game.
Got a Spin Tire series on my YouTube channel. Go check it out. YouTube.com, Gaming Psychologist.
And one of my channel, Gaming with Caffeine Rage. Only I have it going with Kyle, which may or may not be a bonus.
I do actually have a Spin Tires video on my YouTube channel as well. So,
do you? I'm sitting here with your YouTube channel pulled up. I mean, just go see if I can see it here.
It's one of my.
Well, we're not going to hear from Jared anymore, so let's continue on.
It was one of my first videos, I think. Actually, that's a lie because I did a whole KSP series myself. But there we go. Yeah, so 1.2 is probably the best release at this stage. It is such a lovely release. It's what 1.0 should have been. It absolutely is. There's so much stuff in there that's been needed to go in there for such a long time. And I've actually got a list, guys. I don't know if you want me to go through this, but we can do it at some point.
Go ahead.
Just some of the highlights. It's a long list. KSP 1.2 is a huge release. A huge release.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people talking about that. This, of course, is getting back into the speculation thing of Squad, is that if Squad were to just completely disband their software development arm, because Squad is a public relations company or a media company or something like that. I always forget what exactly their proper title was.
Advertising. I'm sure it's advertising.
Well, if they get rid of their software development branch and keep 1.2 as essentially the final release, that people would be happy with it, and that modding could kind of just take over, which honestly, modding has kind of taken over the development of KSP in general, really.
I don't think.
I mean, that happened a long time ago.
Yeah, I don't think KSP would be where it is if it wasn't for the modding community. I firmly believe that.
Yeah, the modding community could add and take away quite a bit from what Squad's done with KSP, just making it far more realistic or making it a lot more simplified.
Well, that's the thing about it.
It's really just amazing about it.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing about the game. With the modding community, you can make that game anything you want it to be, providing you like space simulation or flight. As long as it's in that vein, you can make the game as difficult or as easy as you want. You can customize it because you can change the entire solar system, can't you? You don't have to have the stock planets. You can get rid of all of them and put a whole new solar system in. You can have several solar systems, almost like a little mini galaxy if you wanted to. Which has always been the limitation of KSP, is as we know, is the RAM. It was but 32-bit program. That's changed now to 64-bit. But the game does become unstable with a lot of mods. But as long as you're happy to work with that and you're sensible about it, you can make that game huge, absolutely huge, and essentially never-ending as well. You never play the same game twice either if you don't want to. You can change the game that much and never play the same game twice.
I mean, even if you don't play with mods, you don't have to play the same game twice.
No.
KSP has a lot of different ways you can tackle it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, especially where they have the weighted contract system where if you start doing a lot of aircraft contracts where you're just hauling your tourists around, going to different places on the planet, KSP will start favoring that a lot more, and you'll turn it into almost a flight simulator.
Yes, you can. Yes, exactly. You absolutely can do that, yeah. You can turn it into a flight simulator. So 1.2 is a huge release. If they stopped at 1.2, if they said, right, that's it, development stopped, which probably at the moment they don't have a choice because they haven't got many devs, but if it stopped, then they've left a very, very good release. I know it's very early stages, but straight away, and I'm sure you guys have watched some of the KSP TV streams, or the experimental streams, or the release streams, whatever, that straight away people can find a lot of bugs. I mean, I did. I opened up the KSP TV 1.2 streams, demonstration streams for the experimentals, and I found a lot of bugs straight away. Before I even started streaming, I was finding the bugs, and I was actually submitting bug reports to them. But with this 1.2 full release, I haven't found anything yet. I'm sure there is. There's always bugs with games. There always will be. Because
I did hit one earlier when I was doing a little bit of playtesting, was that I had the color from my parachute for some reason show up on the water like a giant stripe in the water. And I only had that happen once, and I wasn't able to figure out the steps to reproduce it. So I didn't get to send in a bug report, because if you can't reproduce it, then I'm just kind of just sending them in a general direction.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, there's no at this time. I haven't discovered.
But that isn't game breaking. I mean,
no, that's my point.
Yeah, we lived with the weird shadows on the cords from the parachute for ages.
Yeah, we did.
If the ocean looks a little yellow, just say that the fish were startled by the rocket coming down out of the sky.
They had a little wee.
Either that or Jeb was a little too excited and decided to dump the waste product.
Yes,
don't drink the yellow seawater.
No. Overboard urine dump.
Yeah, I thought you were supposed to do that in space, Jeb. The checklist had a couple pages stuck together.
Oh dear.
I have to say that as someone who hasn't played 1.2, who was underwhelmed with 1.0, underwhelmed with 1.1, I am looking forward to playing 1.2. It looks like, like you said a few minutes ago, it looks like what 1.0 should have been.
Yes, definitely.
And
I would
excited
say
1.1.
What was it? 3 is what 1.0 should have been. With the 64-bit, which turned into be a far, far larger project than I think they ever intended it to be.
Yeah. Well,
didn't they originally say 6 months and it ended up being over a year?
Yeah, but
they were way late on it.
They were late. But I'd rather they take their time on this thing. I think what they're trying to do,
especially when working on the engine, take your time.
Yes.
I think we bitched about that for 3 months on the show, Rage, about how that it was late. And we bitched about it on Kerbal Cast, too.
Yeah.
Just repeatedly. We were like, we told you so, we told you so, we told you so.
Well, they need to
probably
get
drove
it right.
some subscribers away.
1.1.3 was a good release, actually. It was a very good release. But 1.2, it casts shadows on any other prior release, as far as I'm concerned. And it's the quality of life things they put into it as well. It's not just the stability of the game. It's the quality of life things they put in. So many things were missing that people wanted for so long, and they found their way into 1.2. You can tell that 1.2 was made with a lot of love, I think. It wasn't rushed. It certainly doesn't feel rushed. I don't think it was rushed at all. They got the right people in the right place with the right ideas, and they took their time on it, and they wanted to get it right. And this pre-access as well, I think, has done them so many favours. Doing a 1.2 pre-release to say, okay, so it's essentially putting it into beta, isn't it? And giving it to the public.
Yeah, this was the second time that they'd done this.
It is
the first time that they did it with the non-Steam release, if I recall correctly.
It was just, yes, the first time they did this, it was just for Steam users only. I don't think they could...
I got them some heat.
Say again? Yes, it did. But I think it was the reason for that was because their server couldn't handle the amount of downloads.
They were talking about how their servers just wouldn't be able to handle all the extra traffic, and that they couldn't get a solution in time. Obviously, they fixed that.
Mm. Well, they're going to find the more hardcore.
They overestimated.
Yeah, maybe. But they're going to find the more hardcore players with the normal download rather than the Steam download, because the Steam download came much, much later, and the normal download was from the very start. It was from the very start. So I'm one of them. I don't have the Steam version. I have the website version. And
I'm one of these Johnny-come-latelys. I have the Steam version.
Well, some people might have switched to the Steam version.
Yeah, there was up to a point that you could switch to the Steam version, and with the pre-release for 1.1, obviously it was the Steam version that was being favored just because they could rely on Valve's infrastructure, when that doesn't fall apart.
Yeah. I wonder. I want to come back to something that you said a minute ago, Aki. You said that you felt like it was put together with love. I wonder if this is almost like their swan song. Like, they've had a lot of issues even before this. The whole thing came out a few months ago about their payment issues and all the stink that was raised up about that. I wonder if kind of the wheels got set in motion for, okay, like 1.2 is the last sort of bit that we can guarantee is going
and all the
to be...
contracts are starting to come up.
Yeah, and they're kind of like, well, you know what? Let's pour everything we have into this, and if this is going to be it, let's leave it on a good note. Let's get it right.
Yeah, that's been bounced around before, actually, or recently, about this being their swan song. If it is, I'm actually okay with that. Of course, I want to see KSP develop further, but the problem Squad have got now is, where do they take this where the modding community already hasn't? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
Well, I was also going to bring up the money, because from everything that I've heard, the console version hasn't sold as well as Squad was hoping.
I think that was a brave move anyway. Yeah, put it to console. Fantastic. Yes, put it to console. But I wouldn't see it as something to rely on for income. I'd see it as maybe a boost rather... I don't know, Squad. I'm just speculating myself.
Also, Squad was overseeing the console port. It was... Flying Tiger that was actually doing the porting, and they had some interesting ideas, particularly with their how they handled the controllers, which I actually kind of wish that they would bring to the PC version.
Yes,
because how the controller was working was you would have a button they could hold down. It would basically put the game in a not quite frozen, but a slow mo.
They call it bullet time.
You would be able to. Okay, well, I wasn't sure if they were calling it bullet time or something else. Hadn't followed the console porting quite as closely as I should have, partly because Kerbal Space kind of died, and I sort of fell off on watching all the development stuff because that was kind of my driving force for a lot of that. But they would put it in bullet time, and you would be able to select all your action groups, and that's how they were handling the limited buttons on the controller, and it did it somewhat well. That was
very well done. Kudos to Squad for that.
Yeah, I'm not sure how well vehicle construction handles on the consoles. I've heard some mixed results on that.
Yeah, I mean, I watched one of the streams demonstrating that, and it was EJ that was doing it, and he's a big KSP streamer. And he apparently, I caught it halfway through. Now, apparently, he had a little bit of trouble at the start, but from where I was watching him, he seemed to adapt pretty quickly. And I think it's more of an adaptation issue rather than the construction issue. So it's going to be a little bit more tricky without a mouse and being able to rotate the camera around as easily as you can do on a PC. But I think having built it on the PC for so long, played with it on the PC for so long, and then going to a console, I think it was more of a transition issue rather than a issue with the build design itself. So if you never played KSP before and went straight into it on a console, of course you're going to find it easier to play with than you would if you're trying to transition from PC to console. But it looked... I mean, he built a plane that flew with seemingly relative...
Which honestly, I have a lot of... Which honestly... I at times have some trouble with that, with the mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, we all do. But yeah, I think it's not a console game, but if you don't have PC and you want Kerbal Space Program, it's a pretty damn good game to have.
Yeah, and honestly, the different consoles offer different control methods, so it's really hard to have one unifying thing.
That's right.
The PS4 version has the little touchpad, which I imagine makes construction a bit easier. And then you have the Wii version, which is going to be on less powerful hardware, but it has greater touch control with the tablet.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see just how the console versions actually give Squad the money for the development of KSP on the PC without going to paid DLC.
Well, I think that's the next thing for Squad. my
paid,
opinion,
well,
is DLC.
Paid DLC, or I'd far prefer them going the expansion route, which is sort of just under the umbrella of DLC these days, where instead of having a DLC with a planet or two, have it be a DLC with an entire new solar system that you could go explore. Granted, being a complete replacement or having it be an extra solar system.
Well, okay, so you just said solar system, but what else could you potentially do with DLC for KSP? I mean, like we already said, KSP is so mod driven.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Who would buy it? Like, what could they offer that the mod community can't provide better and for free?
Well, the only thing
that's the very problem.
The only thing we've come up with in the in our KSP podcast is sponsorship part packs. So they came up with a NASA asteroid redirect part pack. Why not have Squad bring in a SpaceX one or an ESA one? Granted, you can do that with mods. You can do anything with mods. You could always rival KSP's paid content with mods, free mods. But one thing Squad have always been able to do with their upgrades, and we've seen things like recently in the 1.2 update came with the antenna diversity. Well, you've already got remote tech as a mod. You've already got antenna range as a mod. But Squad have always been able to put that edge over what those free mod packs have. That they've been good at that. They've been good at putting a little twist on it all that makes you want that rather than the mod version. So I'm confident that Squad will come up with DLCs or paid DLCs, and I'm happy to pay Squad more money for this stuff. So they will put their twist on it. And yeah, sure, okay, the mods could mimic it again. But for the die-hard, and I think this is what Squad probably have to rely on now, is the die-hard KSP fans that are willing to download these paid part packs, or whatever it's going to be, to put into their game over the free mods. And that's probably what Squad are looking at now, is the die-hard core KSP players. But yeah, sponsored part packs, I think, is an easy way for Squad to go, rather than trying to add more.
Well, I went with something that's kind of similar to that idea, which them go more just cosmetic DLC for the hardcore players. My big idea that I had on Kerbalcast was have a cosmetic DLC that you could buy for $1 or $2 that changes the Kerbal Space Center to look like Star City out of Russia. Completely cosmetic. But if you want to throw Squad a couple bucks, and there hasn't really been that many mods that changes the actual look of the Kerbal Space Center itself that I can find.
No, there isn't.
That's been one of the few areas that modding hasn't really dove into, which it might be just because of that has to get into the very base level of the program.
Yes, they might not be able to. That's right.
Yeah, and that's where things like the new antenna range for Kerbal Space Program really has an edge, is that they could build these systems into the game itself and not have to rely on remote tech's kind of hacky way of doing it.
Yeah.
Because remote tech, it's a great mod, but it requires a lot of computing power to be able to run it, to the point that after you get a couple of networks set up, you start noticing that the map view is starting to slow down big time.
Yes.
And hopefully, be able to have these remote tech like systems in the base game itself does help the mods as well, because they're able to hook into it. But it runs a lot faster because it's not the hacky way of doing it; it's the way that the game is able to accept it now.
Yeah. And listening to you guys talk about it, actually, I would pay for cosmetic stuff along the lines of, change your space center, or special part packs that they do in conjunction with different space agencies around the world. Probably I would pay for some Kerbal skins. Like, I know that there's a ton of mods.
You want the Scott Manley mod, don't you?
Oh, that is awful. That is horrifying.
I know that there's a bunch of different mods that add cosmetic changes to your Kerbals, but I would spend some money, support Squad. Because I did go through a little phase whenever it came out that there are potentially, allegedly poor business practices, that I kind of had a bad taste in my mouth about it. But, I mean, I got over it with time. And, I have still enjoyed 500 plus hours in the game. So, I mean, that's worth more than the $20 that I paid for it.
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
wish I had
Easily.
an hour count myself, because the problem is that as a mod junkie, I typically take my version of KSP, and then I'll copy it to a secondary hard drive way outside of the Steam realm. So if there's any mods that are broken by the next update, whenever Steam updates KSP, it doesn't affect the working version that I have. So I'm kind of an in-between of where a Steam user would be and where Aki is, where he's downloading the game from Squad themselves. I just have a secondary copy that I'm modding. And because of that, my mod hours don't count towards my Steam hours.
Yeah, I'd love to know how many hours I put into KSP, as much as I would hate to know how many hours I put into KSP.
It's like playing an MMO and you type /played and it's like, you have 47 days.
But another paid content or another paid DLC that I definitely buy would be multiplayer. Multiplayer for KSP.
That's been the white whale.
It has.
That Squad's been chasing for years now.
But I think that would grab the most attention for a next major update for KSP, even if it's paid for.
And there is so much speculation on just what multiplayer would really even be.
Well, there's different ways of doing it, isn't there?
Yeah, there's more speculation about multiplayer for KSP than there is for No Man's Sky. Bring it all the way back around. Thank you.
I was trying to figure out how to shoehorn in a No Man's Sky joke in there. Well done, Rach. Well done. Yeah, I remember all the way back, the very first episode of a podcast I ever recorded ever was that episode I did with Free Toss on Kerbalcast, and we probably spent 40 minutes talking about our vision for multiplayer for KSP, and that was sometime last year, like last fall, something like that. You know, and the discussion goes back even farther than that, just on Kerbalcast, and the discussion, I'm sure, has gone on even farther back on KSP's official forums and on the subreddit.
Yeah.
So
Probably ever since the Dark Multiplayer mod originally came out, and people were wanting it to be official.
Oh, you don't want Dark Multiplayer as official. But there's a few different ways of doing the multiplayer. So, of course, you've got the space race approach. You each have 2 different space centres on different parts of Kerbin, and it's the first to get wherever. Plant their flags on all the worlds, whatever. That's fun.
Yeah, which Squad already has multiple space centers on KSP.
It does now.
Yeah, well, they have. Yeah, well, I was talking about the old.
KSC 2.
Yeah, KSC 2.
Yeah, yeah.
Which technically you'd use that if you have a couple mods installed.
Well, the other type you could do is the collaborative, obviously. For instance, an ISS, building a space station together. But the one that we've been bouncing around, which we think is really fun, I don't know if you guys have played with it, but you know, you can see so you're in, you're looking at the spacecraft, and you click on the little button down at the bottom right next to the Kerbals.
Yeah, the cutaway view.
The cutaway view.
Yeah.
How cool would it be if you could press that button? You are controlling, so us 3 are playing. There's 3 Kerbals on board, and you can individually control those 3 Kerbals in that view, and we're all on the same ship. How fun would that be?
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah. And obviously that extends to space stations or whatever, but you could EVA or walk your Kerbal around. And
Yeah,
so
but for
essentially
it to-
you're
for
flying
that
the
to
same
really make
craft
sense.
together.
Yeah,
Oh,
for that to really
huge.
make sense, though, they really need to expand the different roles of the different Kerbals. Because
Yes.
right now, the Kerbals are fairly interchangeable, except for really the pilot.
Yes.
The pilot, just because of the SAS abilities, but you could replace the pilot with a probe now and just have the curb net attached to it.
Yes, you can.
That's probably what I'll do.
The pilot's
I'll
got
probably
more
have Kerbin
functionality.
free.
But, yes.
I'll have Kerbal free spaceships.
Especially with the science experiment storage container now. You guys know about that?
Yeah, I didn't get to toy around with it, but it's essentially you could treat it as basically a drop pod for all your science data. And then,
That's right, and return it, yeah.
And try to hit the Kerbal Space Center and just miss and hit the ocean or the other continent.
That sounds amazing. No, I have not seen that at all.
So you got little.
Yeah, it's essentially there's a hard drive on one of the mods I used to use that's essentially that, where you're able to just move all the data into that autonomously. You don't have to have your scientists move the data one by one anymore.
So it just sucks up all the data from around the craft instead of having to.
That's
go
amazing.
Yes, it is a wonderful, wonderful thing. Which makes,
I mean, that's a huge quality of life improvement.
It's made robotic probes that do flybys, particularly of Bun and Minmus, where they're coming back to the to Kerbin, make a lot more sense.
And Lunar return probes as well, or any return probe, yeah, like you say. So you can land a...
Well, those are the easy ones, you know. Getting a Duna return probe, that's going to be fun.
Yes.
Without, having a lot of fuel.
Yeah, it's changed the game. It's actually put a whole new dynamic into the game, which is really good. That's a DLC I paid for. I paid for the sponsored part packs just because that would be fun and it gives squad some money. I'd pay for multiplayer, of course. If they brought in anything like their version of life support, I'd probably get that. One that we would love, that we'd absolutely love, I don't know whether it's possible or whether it's even feasible, is deformable terrain.
Oh, yeah. Be able to have the crater you name. Because
yes.
That's where
your probe crashes.
That crater you create.
Yes.
That's basically the big holy grail now that they have is a deformable terrain, I think. Having it where you actually see the terrain crater.
If they did that, my first mission would be to make a giant smiley face.
I wasn't thinking smiley face, but okay. You can do your smiley face.
Well, I mean, I'll do a smiley face first,
Spore, I guess.
And then I'll do a penis.
Well, if you did that, and you could actually turn it into more of a science experiment as well, so you could access materials.
If they do the deformable terrain, I would imagine that they would have impactor probes as a science part as well. They would have to. That makes too much sense not to.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know whether that's even possible, but how wonderful would that be?
Well, there are mods that have the impactor probes parts.
Yes, there are. Yeah, there are. Yeah.
So it's once again, mods essentially becoming official, or the general ideas of those mods.
Mm. But if they did none of that, and 1.2 was the final release, they've said that it is absolutely not the final release. There will be they're continuing work. There will be more things.
Is this the Iraqi official information minister again?
This is
definitely not the final release.
Someone told me that this is not the final release. Now, apparently it's not the final release at all. With all the devs leaving, it's easy to believe that this is their swan song, like has been mentioned. And it's very easy to see that. If it was that, I wouldn't mind because of what they've left now. 1.2 is a fantastic release. So if this is the final version, then I'm okay with that. If that's the way it has to be, at least they left it on 1.2. But apparently it's not. And we will see more. We will see more.
Even with all of the bad news and the naysayers and all that, I didn't expect that Squad was completely finished as a company. I mean, as nasty as it might sound, like, people are replaceable.
Yes.
Like, there's no job that can't be replaced.
Well, just look at the executive producer. I mean, we've gone through, 3 of them? Or 4 now?
His staff has changed. It's scary when this happens because, of course, we don't know the details. For the better or for the worse, we don't know the details. So it's scary when things like this happen. But it is the nature of the beast at the same time. This happens. It happens with all games. It's just that Squad is such a small company, but also
we know more about it.
Yes, and we've been...
Because a lot of this stuff happens behind the scenes.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've been with Squad following Squad for a long time. It's got a really, really good and passionate community. It's almost a niche community, I think, Squadders attracted. And it's a good thing. But when things like this happen, all of a sudden, people start lighting all the fires and panicking.
Passing out the pitchforks.
Exactly. You don't need to do this. Let's just wait and see what happens first. I mean, Harvester left. Everyone freaked out when Harvester left. He left his own game. But we've got 1.2 afterwards. So it's not as if KSP died with Harvester leaving. It carried on. Now, all of these devs it is quite a chunk of devs, and they've all done some wonderful things. They've left, but there's nothing to say that Squad won't carry on. They've said they are carrying on. So, and they've got new developers in the pipeline. The only thing I'm worried about is Porkjet leaving. because he was the one that was remodeling all the fuel tanks and
Yeah,
engines.
all the sexy parts.
Yes, and he hasn't released them yet. I'm hoping that he does before he goes. Because have you got the have you seen the demonstration? They released a little taster, just a few of the finished.
I've watched your stream actually on that.
Oh, there you go. So you've seen the engines, and I very much like what I see. So hopefully that will get out as 1.2.1. I don't know, or as a separate mod like Asteroid Day was, where you got the option to change the engines if you want to. But hopefully that will get finalised before PorkJet leaves. Even if it doesn't, I'm sure PorkJet will release it as his own mod into the modding community. But I don't know where the rights lie on that. We'll find out. But that's the only thing before if KSP devs, Chris, PorkJet, if you do listen to this, please release your engines before you go. I want them.
Which one
Please,
they be
KSP
pork
devs,
rockets?
listen to our podcast. I would love it.
Do as we say. So, yeah.
And then share it with all your friends.
Yes.
Oh.
There we go.
Okay.
But
Well, is that a wrap-up point for that?
Well, it's a
I
good
do
place
believe
to
so.
leave it. Yeah. The other thing I've got is to go through the highlights of the 1.2, but of course that's quite an extensive list, so we don't have to do it if we don't want to. You're cool, Jared.
Well, we've been going for about an hour, so I just want to be sensitive to your time.
Oh, no, we're all right at the moment. I haven't had any text messages or frantic bangs at the door.
Okay. I mean, if you want to go through your highlights of 1.2, by all means, go ahead. We'll chime in if we feel like it. I'm sure at some point we will.
Well, it's entirely up to you. So there's a lot of quality of life. I'll go through and you can stop me as you like. So there's a lot of quality of life changes here. So with 1.2 came out the redone UI with all the better text. The text is a lot more clear. The settings menu is so much more extensive now for KSP. The game is so
Yeah, I
much
saw
more
that.
customizable.
And the difficulty menu.
Yeah.
The difficulty menu as well.
Yes, it's very extensive. There's so much stuff, and there's silly little things like always show closest approach to targets for your intercept nodes. They can always be turned on now, and that's actually a very, very big thing. The Kerbals, you can have the Kerbals experience G-forces now, and they can actually pass out from G-forces, and you can have parts that crush under pressure, whether it's atmospheric pressure or sea pressure. You can turn that on. So many little things that have been mods all this time.
This is cutting down my mod list quite a bit, actually.
Yeah. Well, there's
Because,
the high.
Can the Kerbals die? Do they die from G-forces, or do they just pass out?
They say they just pass out. I don't think Kerbals. Well, they do die because you can impact them, can't you? But well, it just says they pass.
I was going to say if you say they can't die, that seems like a challenge.
Well, I asked because in Ferrum Aerospace, you could kill your Kerbals with G-forces.
You can. Yeah. No, it just says they pass out.
Well,
I haven't
probably
tested.
one of my favorite goofy little small mods I used was called G-Effects, where it allows Kerbals to black out and red out.
Yes, I've seen that. That's fun.
Even though I kind of wish that instead of red out, it was green out.
Yeah, they didn't think of that.
Cytoplasm.
Granted, I have no idea what color Kerbal blood is, but that seems like a fun science experiment to find out.
Well, it
Hey,
was.
Jeff,
I want it to be pink. I really want it to be pink.
Pink.
well, maybe they could be like Vulcans and their blood is based on copper.
Green. Well, it makes sense that they have green blood as they are green coloured. I mean, we're pink coloured because we have red blood. So otherwise, we'd be white. The advanced tweak.
Oh, I don't know. I'm pretty white.
Yeah, but you're nocturnal. You're you're like one of those creatures that they find in these caves that have been underground for millions of years, and these creatures have never seen light, and they're just transparent, and you can see their organs, and they don't have eyes. I'm assuming you have eyes if you're playing games.
No, I'm just that good.
You're just that good. You can sense.
He senses the electrons on the screen. It's like, oh, I know which way my game is going.
Which honestly explains some of my gameplay.
Yeah, it's that bad. But actually, that wasn't really a joke. That was just an insult.
It was, yes. You should feel bad for that.
I don't feel bad for that.
Okay.
No, Jared said much worse, and don't worry, I'll just send a clown his way later.
He'll retaliate in some way.
I'll just have a clown knock on his door at about 3 a.m.
You'll make fun of me about something stupid I do.
Or just schedule intervention with spin tires.
No. My spin tires.
I need to play spin tires. What else we got?
Don't encourage them. Don't encourage them.
I don't need any encouragement. It's fine. Anyway, Zachy, you were... Continue.
Other great things like the fairings. You can now take... Because a lot of things you can turn off the staging for now. So items that were like stack separators or the structural hardpoints and things were... If you staged them, they'd obviously jettison whatever they're attached to. You can now turn that off. That's also true of the fairings. So you can actually use the fairings as structural parts now, rather than have them as fairings. You can turn the staging off. There's a lot of nice little quality of life items like that. The fuel flow system has been rewritten, so you can see where engines are pulling their fuel from. You can control how that fuel is delivered to the engines and to what engines, and that also extends to electric charge as well. So you can have batteries drain at different rates, for instance. And of course, the big thing is the antenna range, which I'm sure most people are aware of now in Kerbal Space Program, and that's they call, loud and clear, isn't it? They call it 1.2 KSP loud and clear. Yeah.
Yeah, which they did have the little video as well, which was always hilarious.
They did. There were things in that video that I want in the game that aren't in the game.
Yeah, just the elevator with that they put the probe on. Yes. I want that.
Yes, I want that too.
or even the robotic arm on the probe.
Well, actually, going back to the downloadable content that I happily pay for, the Kerbal attachment system, Kerbal inventory system, that mod where the Kerbals can actually pick up spanners and take parts on and off and build things. If they made that into
mod.
Yes, it's one of my must-have mods, and if they made that into stock, that is definitely something that I'd buy. And you could probably tie that into life support as well, because it's something that focuses on the Kerbals themselves, and life support will directly affect Kerbals. So
yeah, which haven't they said that they don't want to do stock life support?
Not stock, but if it's an optional expansion or just DLC, yeah. So you could buy things from Squad to make the game how you want it. But it is really a whole different... The DLC thing, we don't know when that's coming. I think that's the next step for Squad. But until that happens, we'll probably save the in-depth discussion until then. But
we'll probably be having you back for that one.
Yes, I'll come back. If you want me back.
We haven't scared you off yet, have we?
No, not yet. I am nervous, but I've got it under control.
Nah, you're fine.
Well, to be fair, that's just the general thing of being around Jared. It's just that little level of nervousness. Partly because he's constantly taking notes on people.
It helps. It helps being a therapist. They get really nervous, and then they just start talking about stuff. It's like, oh, okay. I see.
And then suddenly he sends you a bill for all your Steam training cards.
That is what I charge my friends that I have online on Steam and stuff. Trading cards for therapy.
There you go.
Speaking of
what's his version?
How's your marriage?
Marriage?
You don't actually have to answer that.
Because that's a whole different conversation.
I don't know. He has his wife locked in a room with his children right now.
Yeah, I should have. Yeah. It's not as bad as it sounds, listeners. They are not there against their will. They chose this. They agreed to it. There was bribery, but they agreed to it. And it was reasonable agreement as well. It wasn't if you want to stay alive, you need to stay in this room. It was nothing like that. No such choices.
Well, once again, you are in Australia, so yeah, that may be part of it. If you want to stay alive, stay in this room.
Well, yeah, sometimes that's necessary. Gameplay for KSP. Parts are better organised than VAP SPH. They've now got more options that the parts are put under. So, for instance, the stack separators and decouplers were put under structural parts. They now have their own tab. And wheels have their own tab, for instance. So
I noticed a lot more tabs whenever I was doing
they've done some really nice little tidy-up bits. The new SAS, of course, the craft doesn't go thrashing itself around the node that it's trying to get to. It coasts nicely over.
That sounds like a challenge.
Yes, you try and break that. Kerbals EVA orientate, so you can change the position of Kerbals in EVA as you always were able to, but as soon as you press one of the WASD buttons, the Kerbal reorientates. It now doesn't do that. It stays in the orientation you left it unless you turn on the SAS. The aim camera. So if your vehicle's on the launch pad, you're trying to focus on a particular part, you can right-click any part and aim camera, and it will refocus the camera onto that part. No longer is it permanently stuck to the center of mass for the vehicle, which is changing.
That's going to make docking a lot easier.
Yeah.
That is amazing. That's probably my favorite thing that you've said so far.
Oh, there you go. Aim camera, such a powerful thing. And you can aim the camera on the launch clamps as well. So when the rocket launches, you stay on the launch pad and you watch your rocket go up. So that's a nice little thing you can do.
I wonder how many YouTubers are using that.
Yeah, cinematics. The aerodynamics has been improved, so pointy rockets will be faster while blunt rockets will be slower, or aeroplanes, whatever you're going to use. But this also means that capsules will slow down faster during re-entry, and you'll slow down faster. So whereas before it was always important to, for instance, if you were turning back from the moon, you'd need a periaps about 20 to 30 kilometers, otherwise your pod wouldn't slow down in time. Well, if you're showing a blunt end, the heat shield, to the atmosphere on re-entry, it will slow down a lot quicker than it used to. So unless it's pointy, unless it's aerodynamic, in which case it will not slow down as quickly. So that's important now. The improvement, a brilliant improvement where the shape of the vessel actually matters now.
Yeah, I noticed a slight problem with that in 1.1 when one of my first launches, I usually get the big booster, strap a capsule to the top of it just to break the atmosphere. I kind of killed Jeb with that because I didn't realize that the atmosphere wouldn't slow me down quite as quickly in 1.1. And my shoots never went even to yellow on the re-entry.
Well, that's
I have to say, having using Ferrum for forever, I've been kind of used to that for a long time.
Well, the advanced tweakables.
Even with Ferrum, it was not that extreme. This was coming straight down out of, I would say, 100 kilometers.
Okay.
Just coming straight down.
Well, there was a bug once where the pods used to speed up on re-entry rather than
maybe I was hitting that as well.
I don't think I've ever experienced that bug.
Yeah, it
I
didn't
did, I
happen
would be
for everyone.
screwed.
Yeah, it didn't happen for everyone, but it was known. Going back to parachute, so you got the advanced tweakables now, which is a setting that you turn on in the main menu, and if you have that turned on in the VAB and SPH, you have a lot more control over the individual components you're using to build your vessel. And parachutes has an advanced tweakable option in that. Oh, is it advanced tweakable? It might not be. It might be just.
It's advanced
normal.
because I didn't turn that on and I didn't have an option. I know what you're talking about.
So you can decide when your parachutes deploy, and you can have them deploy immediately, which has always been the way, or you can have them deploy when risky, or you can have them deploy when safe. And what this means is, so the parachutes end up in the staging with all the decouplers and whatnot. Now, when you press spacebar in previous versions, if you press spacebar, your parachutes would deploy if you're in space or whatever. And if you're coming down for re-entry and you deployed them when your icon was red, that means your parachutes would rip off. Well, now, if you have deploy when safe turned on, the parachutes, if you press the spacebar, they will not open until that icon is grey. So it doesn't matter if you accidentally press the button now, the spacebar, and you stage them, because they won't deploy. And that's quite a realistic thing. I like that. That's the advanced. And
I've had a few emergency, oh crap, I just hit spacebar. Quick, get the engineer out there to repack the chutes while the ship is on a suborbital trajectory.
So if you have, I don't know why. I think advanced tweakables. I understand why they have it turned off. Is because it doesn't scare new players, but it's something that I'd like to have on as default. But as long as you know it's there, it's fine. But going back to the aerodynamics that have been improved, the water physics have also been improved. So when your craft splashes down, it no longer goes nuts. It comes off the rails nicely. And Kerbals actually float properly too.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Feel free to continue without me.
Okay. Yeah, Kerbals float properly in the water, so their mouths aren't underwater anymore. They actually float with their heads above the water, which is nice. The contrast,
one of those just little things.
Yeah, it's just all these little things, as well as all the B improvements and the additional content we've got. These little quality of life things that they've added, which I think is really important, and it's made the game just so much more lovely. The contracts on planets are now weighted, so they come in first world style packages. So, for instance, if you started your new career and you got above 5,000 meters or whatever, you got a reward for that. Well, if you don't accept any contracts but you fly to Juna, you will get a reward for flying to Juna. So there is an automatic style in there. But also, it recognizes if you don't want to go to Juna, but you keep getting Juna contracts come up, if you keep rejecting those contracts, the game will learn that you actually don't want to go to Juna. So it'll focus on other things, and you'll get less Juna contracts, which is quite a nice little touch to it. It makes the careers a little bit, the career progression more logical. And going back to actually the gameplay itself, the debug window, the Alt F12 menu, there's a few nice little adjustments in there or additions they put in there. One is the gravity adjuster. Have you played with that?
No, I haven't, but I have seen that.
You're aware of it?
Where you're able... Yeah, I'm aware of it, where you're able to essentially simulate really any planet now.
Yes, you can. Yeah, you can increase the gravity adjuster up to 10, which puts the gravity up to 10 times that of Kerbin, or you can reduce it down to 0, as pretty much. So you can simulate.
Yeah,
the
it's essentially. Shoot! Now I'm blanking on the moon that you don't land on. It's more you dock with it.
Gilly.
Gilly. Yeah, I just blanked on the name Gilly. Yeah, where it's more of docking with the planet or the moon.
It's actually difficult to stay. You don't really land on Gilly. Yeah, you dock with it.
Get a Kerbal attachment system with the harpoons and just fire them down.
The only thing is about using that gravity slider, so it's fun to practice or simulate landing on other planets with that. But, of course, you've always got the atmosphere on Kerbin, which stays there, and it stays at that pressure too. If they had an atmospheric slider as well from 0 to 10 or whatever, then that would be good.
Well, that's where the other half of what they added, the hyper-edit analog.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Hyper-edit to MUN.
Yes, you can. You can hyper edit it anywhere you like. So you call it hyper edit because calling it hyper edit, you know what it is, but it's actually very different to hyper edit. But essentially, it does some of the same features, and you can put your craft in orbit. Around any planet or moon. The nice thing about it is that it won't let you do it in a dangerous way. So if you try and hyper edit to Joule, on the first time you click it, it won't let you do it because it recognizes if you did do that, you'd be in Joule's atmosphere and your craft would be destroyed, which will make the process pointless. So it actually gives you a warning to say, no, you can't do that. But on top of that, it then readjusts the altitude so that it is a safe orbit. So you press it again and it will happily put you in Joule's orbit, in a safe orbit. So it won't let you do anything accidentally.
Oh, that's really neat.
It is. It's just, and again, it's a nice little quality of life thing. And the last thing in the debug menu that I was going to mention was the create Kerbal. You can now create your own Kerbals. You can decide on their name, you can decide on their gender, whether they're a badass, what trade they are. So you can create your own Kerbal. Although,
does this actually allow the segregation of the name and occupation? Because for a long time, the occupation or the trade or the role of the Kerbal, I think is the proper term of it, yes, whether they're a pilot, engineer, or scientist, is actually more. It was determined by a hash of their name rather than a setting in the save file.
Yeah, that's right.
Granted, you could go in and edit that, but it was only changing the tag and not the actual role. So if you changed, let's say my Kerbal, you created a Kerbal for me, and I believe using my Twitch name, it creates me as a pilot. If you change that to scientist in your save file, that tag, it only says that, okay, I'm a scientist, but I still have SAS control. I don't have the scientist role.
No, I think
does that segregate that?
It does, yes. You can call it what you want, and you can also choose its trade, and it's not depending on name anymore.
That's actually the big thing for me. It was my idea was always to essentially what I'm doing with RimWorld is name all the Kerbals after different people. That way I'll be able to strand Aki on Minmus with his limited life support and try to do
rather than just be ugly and depressed.
and have Groove make art about you as you're running around
that's the weird thing about it.
Which Groove did send a message and he did apologize.
Oh,
but the thing is that I know Groove. He's not sorry.
Well, if he's got to apologise, that means I wasn't aware of it. So he was spying on me and painting me. That makes it even worse.
To be fair, he wasn't painting you; he was sculpting you. It's completely different.
It still doesn't make it better. In fact,
I'm back.
Welcome
I've
back.
actually been back for a couple of minutes looking for a good place to jump in, and I just decided that wasn't going to happen, and I'm just going to talk and make it awkward.
Well, I've only...
But that's generally what I do anyways, is make it awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of your thing, isn't it?
Just bringing awkwardness to it all. Well, the only last thing to run through that I will run through, and then I think I've rambled enough, is the fixes. So there's a few fixes that are worth mentioning, and the orbits are fixed. So for those that like playing with maneuver nodes, stress no more. The orbits are immensely stable in terms of creating your nodes. So if you're trying to do an intercept to the moon, for instance, you'd find that the orbital lines were jumping all over the place, the predicted orbits and whatever. That they don't do that anymore, thankfully, because that's a huge thing. The intercept markers work as they're supposed to for rendezvous, the predicted orbits. You can actually extend the predictions as well. So whereas before you'd only get
the patch conics?
The patch conics, yes. So whereas before you'd only get 2, you get the orange, which is your immediate predicted projection, should I say, and then you get the purple one afterwards, which will be, and that happens with a sphere of influence change. So your craft will be affected by another body, be it a planet or a moon, and you'd only get the 2. And the second one, the first one was unstable, let alone the second one. But now you can have quite a few. Yeah, the more you do, the more weird it gets. It does get a little bit glitchy, but on the grand scheme of things, it is immensely stable in comparison to what we had before. So there's your orbit lines.
Yeah, typically using mods, I think I ran 4 just because going from, let's say, going from Minmus, it seems like I always had an intercept with Mun. It was always in the perfect spot,
yes.
Which meant that because I had a patch conic going through Mun's orbit, or Mun's sphere of influence, I wasn't getting my final altitude for Kerbin because it was more concerned about what I was doing with the Mun.
Well, I mean, that's clearly where you want to go. That's absolutely your final destination, don't you know?
Yeah, never mind that I had just enough life support to get back to Kerbin.
Nah, you don't need it. Kerbals can hold their breath for a really long time.
Yes, they can.
Well, don't you know that they don't eat? They just lay out in the sun and use photosynthesis.
Yeah, pretty much.
But the other good thing about these new patch conics is that it's very easy to do planetary slingshots. So you know how to, in real life, NASA, for instance, will send probes to Jupiter, but they might swing by Venus first to get a bit of speed up, and then swing back through to Earth, and then go on to Jupiter.
Just watching some of the trick shots that NASA does is amazing.
Yeah, and with these new patch conics, it's so easy to replicate that as well. So easy.
I wonder if we'll eventually see a mod, since the patch conics is getting a bit more stable, that allows for more planning of these planetary slingshots, because that's really the limiting thing right now to do a more realistic space program, is that it is immensely hard to get the proper slingshots unless you're actually like Scott Manley level of the game.
Yeah.
or you get very lucky.
Yes, that's right. It's easy to do one slingshot, so I'll often use the moon to get to places. I'll use the moon to get to Minmus, because you can save quite a bit of Delta V by doing that. But any more than that, to use a slingshot from to Eve and then back to Kerbin to get out to Jewel, no. I cannot math like that. That's my limitation. So, but you're right. If there's programs that can work that out, and we know that they can do it to a degree anyway, because we have Transfer Window Planner, we have MechJeb that can do all of that anyway. So to add in a few extra calculations to get an efficient, a Delta V efficient slingshot out to another planet using other planets, which you might be able to select from a drop-down menu, or it works it out itself. You tell the program, okay, I want to go to Jewel, and then
and it looks at the potential slingshots as well as the transfer window for the next year or 2 years.
Yes, and it comes back to you with those answers. That would be... I don't think that's difficult to do for the program. And I don't think it's difficult to program, as long as you know what you're doing, of course. I don't think that's a difficult thing. It's not a high-tech thing. It's just probably just some relatively basic maths. But for us to work out on pen and paper as just general gamers, it's a little bit more than what we'd like to commit ourselves to, I'd imagine. But yeah, I agree, Rage, that I think that this is something that might open up. And hopefully it does, actually. I really do hope. Okay, other fixes. Centre of lift. Going back to planes and aerodynamics, the centre of lift has finally been fixed on the wings for planes. I don't know if you two are aware, but the way that the centre of lift for wings was always measured at the wingtips, which meant you had some really bizarre-looking planes. They've now...
Yes.
Yeah. They've now moved it to where the centre of pressure for the wing, where you'd expect that to be. It's a little bit more realistic, which makes the planes a lot more sensible. So there's
I don't think any of my planes will ever be sensible.
Well, it'd be boring if they were. Lander legs. The rotation of lander legs in the VAB. I don't know if you ever guys came across this, but you'll put a lander leg on to a structure and then you want to rotate it and it does these weird things. I don't know.
The symmetry would break a lot of times.
Symmetry, the rotation would break as well. It's try and rotate the leg around and it disappears into the structural part itself. Things like that.
Probably my favorite bug relating to lander legs was the symmetry would break, so you'd rotate it so you'd have one pointing down and the one on the opposite side would be pointing up.
Yes.
I hated when that happened.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That shouldn't happen anymore. Things like that shouldn't happen anymore. So the symmetry...
Planes especially had problems with that because mirror symmetry would break a lot easier than radial symmetry.
Yeah.
Yeah, but once again, this seems like a challenge.
There you go. Legs no longer explode when Kerbals walk into them. They just walk through them instead, which is fine. I'm happy with that. Yeah, okay, from immersion level, a Kerbal walking through a lander leg and a wheel isn't realistic, but it's better than the whole thing exploding. So I'm happy with that.
Right.
And the wheels are fixed as well, so anyone that's played KSP for 10 minutes and tried to use wheels know the pain that wheels caused. So the wheels have now been fixed. And Kerbals no longer cause ladders to explode or slide off of them. So remember when Kerbals used to slide off of ladders very slowly? That stopped.
Do Kerbals sometimes still launch into space whenever you try and grab a ladder?
No. Or they shouldn't do. Challenge for Rage. But they shouldn't do. It should all be rather stable. That's the end of my list. That's obviously a very, very quick. There's so much stuff in 1.2.
Well, it's good to see Kerbals got some upper body strength, so they no longer slide off the ladders.
Yeah.
The bug fix was just putting little barbells in the astronaut complex.
Well, I don't know how much of the dev notes you ever caught up with, but a lot of these bugs that were appearing, you're aware of some of the methods they used to get around them? So instead of, for instance, there was an issue for a while where vehicles would suddenly start sliding.
I remember that, and they started, and they just decided the easiest way to fix it, since they couldn't fix the actual bug, was to create an equal and opposite force.
Yes, exactly. It was like an anti-crash.
And I see that. It's like, oh, this isn't going to cause problems.
But they've actually seemed to have fixed everything now. I think that's because they've delved into the root code and redone it. And the SAS is a perfect example of that. I think for a long time, when they went to the 64-bit Unity, instead of rewriting things, they put like a box around it and did a conversion code rather than rewriting it from scratch again to be compatible. They what's the word I'm trying to think of? Oh, I can't remember. I'm under pressure.
Oh, don't worry. You're starting to get into the realm of, I know some of these words. But yeah, instead of... they essentially put a box around the core code, and they did like a... jeez. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the timer, and I just got an alert saying that I have a podcast recording to go do.
Oh, yeah. I'm not supposed to start for another half an hour according to my time. Never mind. See, there's a painful irony here. Because a few episodes ago, we did for our 1 year episode on Boosting the Space State, we did an offline recording, exactly the same fashion that we're doing now. Whereas we always do it on Twitch, we did it offline, just us. And one of the topics is guests, and we get a few emails and messages on Twitter saying, "Why didn't you have more guests? Please have more guests." And my response,
scheduling
in the podcast, it was, "Well, it's a pain in the arse to get guests on because of X, Y, Z." And everything else that goes with that. And I'm now a painfully perfect example of my own criticism.
Well, to be fair, this is Jared's fault.
I don't know if it is.
Either that or Google's fault. And I'm not sure where to put the blame. So I'm just going to put the blame on Jared.
I'll blame.
It's right on my calendar, guys. I showed up on time. I was here and ready to go.
Well, see, here's the thing: is that I have nothing better to do anyway, so I'd be here nonetheless at either time.
I was supposed to go out. I was wandering around the house this morning, and my wife will tell you, she won't, but she would if I asked her. I was wandering around saying, "I'm sure these times are wrong. 3 o'clock doesn't sound right, considering what time they're starting." And I was wondering, no, it's got to be right. It's got to be right. Oh, I won't check it. It'll be all right. And what happened?
It's a good thing that I found you on Skype.
I saw the message and I thought, Jared's he's keen. He's keen, making sure, prep and everything. And he's like, "No, you're supposed to be on." So, bollocks. And I panicked because at the time our car is out of registration, so I was trying to renew the registration. And the place closed at 12. So I was running around already pretty stressed, trying to get the registration sorted for the car. And I saw this message off Jared, and I was like, no. So much stress going on right now, and I didn't know what to do. And I was like, the wife's like, I got to go on the podcast. And the wife's like, well, the kids haven't had their lunch. I was like, kids, there's a packet of peanuts. Go in that room and close the door and don't come out. I just went into full panic mode.
And meanwhile, Jared's just scratching away his notepads like,
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to get so many Steam trading cards out of this.
And just for the listeners, they had more than a packet of peanuts. Okay, I set them up a nice little. I set them up.
Honestly, a pack of peanuts would be a great lunch for my kid. He'd be happy. I swear, children. I don't know how we all didn't die from malnutrition. It's not that we don't try and feed him good. Like, we try and feed him good food every day. What does he only eat? Peanut butter. Cookies, Cheetos, Cheez-Its.
Yeah.
He's learning to live on a college lifestyle already.
But there you go. No, they've got a nice little picnic affair going on in their bedroom, and they seem quite content with that. With more than just peanuts, there was some nourishment there anyway.
And there was a bottle of water as well.
A bottle of water and a bucket in the corner. I need to wee go in that.
How old are your kids?
4.
Okay. So you're a little bit ahead of me.
Okay.
A little bit. My kid's 2.5.
Well, I got one that's 2 months old as well.
Oh, okay.
I got twins.
Well, that's easy though. It's easy when they're that size. They just sleep and poop all the time.
Pretty much. Yeah. And in between that, they threw up. I had to have a shower because at the time I was running around getting stressed out about everything. I also had a big streak of sick down my left shoulder. So I thought, I need to deal with this as well.
I understand
that. Good thing we're not a video
that.
podcast then.
Oh, no, I've changed and everything now. I had to shower before I came on. That was one of the things I had to do. I didn't really want to sit here with a T-shirt stinking of sick. Albeit baby sick, which isn't actually smelly. It just smells like sour milk a little bit, I suppose. Anyway, enough of that. Let's move on.
That's gross.
That's gross.
Sour milk is gross. Yeah, let's move on. All right, so we've been an hour and a half. How's your time looking, Aki?
Again, still no text messages. Let me double check. No, still no text messages. We're okay.
Okay, well, I mean, that pretty much wraps up KSP, so unless we want to BS a bit, we have fulfilled our obligation.
Already?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
A bit. We haven't done that already.
Fair play.
So I think that last 15 minutes already is kind of going into that.
Well, we can summarise just by saying 1.2, fantastic release. Double-edged sword with the news, though, because most of the devs are leaving, although Squad do promise to release more content. I hope it will be paid content. I think there's enough in there to satisfy the final free update, and I look forward to where it's going next. But as far as we're concerned, and as far as we need to know, that there will be more. Squad is not done. But if it is,
this is just really well, once again, you were talking double-edged sword. The double-edged sword of being a more open and communicative company is that these personnel changes normally would just happen behind the scenes, and
you wouldn't
you
be
may
none the
know
wiser.
about. Yeah, you may know about. I would say probably writers in Baby, the executive producer, them swapping out, but everyone else, you wouldn't be none the wiser.
That's right. Yeah, I think we would have known Harvester leaving, but anyone else, we probably would have just. Well, yeah, we wouldn't have known anything.
Probably Portjet, just because of his new parts that he's been working on.
Well, the style would change, wouldn't it? So it'd be difficult to. If someone else came in, they'd have their own idea.
Which hopefully whoever takes over, if Portjet isn't done or close enough to done, that they could just ship everything out.
Hopefully. I hope that Portjet finishes.
Isn't so radically different that you start seeing like a hodgepodge of different styles on the rocket.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Okay.
Because you could really tell whenever you're heavily modding, and you'd see, okay, well, this part is obviously from a different mod than this one.
Yes.
Because, well, first of all, the seams don't line up, and, it looks like my rocket is more camouflage than anything else.
That's right. If you have, like, KW rocketry alongside stock parts, as they currently are, there's a definite difference there.
And you're slowly rotating the craft. It's like, why won't you line up?
The textures don't align. Not to carry on the conversation, but that's something I'd like to see is a right-click option on the tanks and have a load of different texture and design varieties. Yeah,
there's a couple mods that do that I would love to see go stock.
Yeah,
there have been a few that have done that.
Procedural parts, even though I know Squad has said that they don't want to do procedural parts, that's one of the big no-nos that they've talked about. They like the idea of the Lego style where you have this tank, this tank, this tank, and that's it. You don't have the 20,000 different tank sizes in between them.
Yes, I agree with them.
But
actually.
But procedural parts where you're able to swap out the style or have make your lander look more like the Apollo lander because you could have the tank be gold foil wrapped.
Yes, yeah, a texture difference, and it only needs to be texture as well. I'm not saying different tank shapes, but different textures would be a very welcome addition. You get you're about Everyone likes customization, and as basic as a texture change on the tanks is, I think that'll go a long way into people finding a new connection with the game, because people love to customize. They can identify their own space program with their own style as well, not just build style, but the physical look of it in terms of the textures, the skins. Yeah. Okay, I'm done. I will KSP no more.
Ever again?
No.
There goes another Kerbal Space Program podcast. Well, we now have a void of Kerbal Space Program podcast. Jared, you want to start a second podcast?
Oh God, I don't have time for a second podcast. I'd love to, but in all seriousness, I'd love to do more, but I don't have time.
Yeah, it's amazing how much time this takes up. The editing, anyway. It takes me about 3 days to do an edit. I do a lot more than what I'm supposed to, probably.
Well, our mighty editor doesn't do much on the terms of editing.
I spend a lot of time editing. This past week was a really good edit. I got it done in like an hour and a half. But, I mean, it was just the two of us. We didn't have any audio content to add. We didn't take any breaks.
And you also take a lot of notes during the podcast as well.
Yeah, and I've got to where I take notes during, so it's like, okay, I got to go and cut this out at this time, or make sure I add this
there's Rage
at this
hacking
time.
up a lung after laughing too hard again.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure I still miss stuff every once in a while because I tend to lean towards speed, but I mean, I'm pretty good at it.
Yeah, but the cheeky little monkeys that find our podcast before it actually releases love it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have 3-4 people that know exactly where to get the podcast before it releases, so they listen to it like a day and a half early.
Yeah. Speaking of Kyle, I almost forgot. Kyle told me to tell you hi, Aki.
Oh, hi, Kyle.
Yep. He called me a bit inebriated, and when I say a bit, I mean a lot. And he was like, "What are you?" A few minutes into our conversation, he's like, "What are you going to be doing tonight? What are we streaming?" And I was like, "Oh, we're recording a special segment of the podcast with Aki." And he said, "Oh, well, tell him I said hi." I said, "Okay, do you want to tell him anything else?" He was like, "No, I'm good."
How lovely.
So I said, "Okay."
Hi, Kyle.
But yeah,
See, Aki is welcomed on the podcast. He has both Kyle and Groove.
he drank a lot of moonshine. He called me and he was like, "Do you know any quick remedies to not be drunk?" And I was like, "Not
Don't
really.
drink that much.
Eat food and drink water and hope it passes quickly."
Yes.
Hope your liver doesn't hate you.
Or a blood transfusion. That might be a bit extreme.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. Although I don't know where he's going to get a blood transfusion. So
Just
maybe
having
Mel's
a
and
horrendous
him are the
car
same blood
accident.
type. I think I'd rather just slowly get over being drunk.
Yeah, that's probably why
As
people
opposed to
don't
have a
do
car
that.
accident.
Yeah.
Well,
I
I
was
don't
in-
know. It seems like a lot of people that get drunk do have horrendous car accidents.
Well, there is a
I
link.
went to Vegas a few years ago, and I was just exploring my hotel. I stayed at the MGM Grand, and there was a place in the basement where that you could go after a night of I guess debauchery and get a blood transfusion and get all sorts of things, stuff pumped into your body that was like, I remember there being adrenaline so that you would wake up. That's the only thing I remember out of the cocktail that they would give you. But it was like,
Sheesh.
Wow.
it was like $200. It was
Wow.
crazy. I was like, I would not let some random person at Vegas give me a blood transfusion and a cocktail of feel-good drugs.
Well, don't you know that it just stays in Vegas?
Very true. Very true.
Well, the tramp stamp that you got the night before doesn't, though.
Well, on the subject of...
And awkward silence.
On the subject of alcohol, I was breaking it. I was doing my best to break it. On the subject of alcohol, where I was supposed to be before I started this podcast was to a local brewing shop, because I'm going to start brewing my own beer. I'm going to give it a go.
Oh, fancy.
Yeah.
Fancy. I make wine
Do you?
and mead with my mom. Yeah,
Nice.
that's a thing that we do.
My brother does
A couple
it.
of times a year.
He does it.
We get together and make a batch.
Yeah, my brother's been into it for quite some time, and I thought, I'm going to give this. I mean, he's got like ridiculous amounts of equipment, and he's very clinical with it. I'm just going to do the basics, but I mean, booze is so expensive up in Darwin. It's expensive in Australia, but it's particularly expensive in Darwin, and a lot of people up here make their own. So I thought I'd give it a go. So I'm going to give it. If you never hear from me again, you know that I did it wrong, and probably haven't recovered. But it's something I'm looking forward to.
Then Aki is the one that's blind and trying to steal game.
Again, that wouldn't make any difference, would it? Let's be honest. You've seen my streams, Rage.
Gee, Aki is flying a lot better today. I wonder why he's wearing the sunglasses, though.
Yeah, went for a moonshot and landed on Juno. Result. Didn't see it.
Yeah.
That's all I've got on beer.
I'm not a huge beer drinker out of all of our friends, except for Rage, who doesn't drink.
Yeah, which honestly never really. Well, for one, I'm not really have a big social group here, so never really had the thing to go out drinking with buddies, and just never had the urge to drink, even though I have the genetic disposition. I'm of German and Irish descent, so in theory, I should go drinking and then take over the bar and try to invade the bar next door.
Yes. You're letting your culture down. How does that make you feel?
Sober.
You also should be hiling me more, since I'm the Hitler of this podcast.
Oh, well, I don't hear you spinning in your chair going right now. So,
Oh, that reminds me. One of my clients listens to the podcast, and he's been catching up. And he walked into session the other day, and he was like, he gave me the Nazi salute and was like, "Heil Jared." And I was really confused for a minute, and then I remembered that he listens to the podcast, and it all made sense.
I think you're in the wrong place.
I was like, what in the name of all that is whole? Oh, that's right. You listen to this craziness.
You're just going to start calling your room the bunker.
How do you know I don't do that already?
Well, if you believe the conspiracy theories, you should move to the moon. Apparently Hitler lives on the moon.
No, I saw the episode of Monty Python. Didn't he move to the UK and try to start his role in politics there again?
Yes. I love Monty Python. Oh, my God.
Mr.
I used to watch
Hilter?
that all the time.
Oh, I'm devastated. Because I've got all my DVDs. I've got loads and loads of DVDs. I love films. So I've got loads of DVDs. And Blu-rays now, but DVDs. Moved to Australia. Bought an Australia DVD Blu-ray system. And, of course, regional issues. So I've got a quarter of my film collection that I used to because I don't have a region-free DVD player. And as much Googling as I do, I can't find a way to unlock this one. So but it is a new...
Do you have a DVD drive in your PC?
Yes, I do.
You could just rip them. I rip all of my DVDs and have a digital collection, DVDs and Blu-rays. So I've got a Blu-ray drive in my machine.
Migrated to the digital collection yet, and it's such a good idea. My brother has something like that. He's got this little mini PC that he has next to the TV, and he just accesses all his films from that one place. But I'm still old-fashioned and get up, and it's weird. My music collection has gone digital. I have no CDs, of course, no cassettes anymore. Although I am trying to put together a record collection because records, vinyl, and but my film collection, don't know why, but I've refused to put onto digital media. I've just gone to or stuck with the discs, and it's silly to do that really because they take up a lot of space.
Yeah, I mean, there's some benefits, there's some downsides. The quality is not as good because if you're doing what your friend is doing, where that they've got just a PC hooked up to their TV or whatever, then it's fine. You can just leave them whatever size you want. But we've got ours on a flash drive, a couple of flash drives that we take with us whenever we go places. I mean, I've got copies of them saved to my portable hard drive or my backup drive. But, if we want to take a bunch of them on a flash drive, I have to compress them down, cut down the quality a little bit. So the quality is not quite as good as on disc. But, I mean, the convenience for me outweighs that.
Sure, yes.
So, I've got like 300 or 400 digital movies right now, and I've got another, like a huge stack that I still need to go through. Because, I mean, our movie collection was massive.
Put them through the jet engine?
Yeah. That's my render machine, Aki, is called the Jet Engine because it's a secondhand PC that I got from my father-in-law who works in IT. And I did some upgrades to it and whatnot, but it's only got a single fan because it's like a really small, it's not a micro PC, but it's a really tiny PC just meant to sit on a workstation. And it just, once it gets going, that little fan just whines like a jet engine.
I remember
for hours.
I remember I've always wanted a PC case. I got someone rudely mowing the lawn outside. I don't know if you can hear that.
I can't hear it.
Okay.
I heard it just now, barely.
All right. Okay. I apologise. But if you can hear, because everyone in here will have petrol lawnmowers and trimmers. Now everything's petrol. With that comes noise. So anyway,
that's all right. That's kind of the standard here as well. But then again, where I live, it's big in fossil fuels and. They're try to fight anything that moves away from coal mining because that's definitely not dead and in the past.
No,
I live out in the middle of nowhere. My nearest neighbor is like 5 minutes away. So
yes, that's
I don't have to
which is why the clown's going to show up at 3 a.m.
I'd love that isolation. See, I'm a country person. Well, that's what you'd call me in the UK, as a country person, rather than a town or city person. And I love the isolation and quiet. But for Darwin, for Australia, where I live, that's in this area. I live in a very, very quiet area. But we have houses all around us. Whereas if I lived in England, I'd find a nice little quiet village somewhere and isolation. Yeah. So I envy you, Jared. living in. I don't know whether you like that living, but that's definitely my living. And you don't get people mowing the lawn right outside your window either. Which is irritating.
I used to hate it. I used to hate living out in the middle of nowhere. I moved to a town, not exactly a city by any means, but it was much bigger than where I grew up. And then housing is very cheap out here in the middle of nowhere, so that's why we moved back. But it's grown on me, especially having a kid. It's a really good place. I mean, we can pretty much turn him loose outside and be like, okay, go have fun. Don't have to worry about it. It's really hard to get good internet service out here. It took us forever to get Comcast, which is awful, but compared to nothing, it's like, well, I guess I'll deal with this.
Well, to be fair, in the United States, it's hard to get good internet nowadays anyway because of all the data caps rolling out.
Yeah, fair enough.
And Aki's just saying there like, you lucky bastards.
Yes, I have internet. I have good internet in Australia, but the problem is trying to get outside of Australia is an issue. So I might have a good upload and download, relatively good upload and download, but of course there's very little inside Australia, so most of the sites that I download from come from elsewhere in the world, and getting a connection to that server, wherever it may be, is the issue. So, yeah.
Yeah, all the underseas lines that are probably several decades old at this point.
If not more. Yes. Exactly. So I've got good internet, but of course that doesn't matter if what you're trying to connect to, if the server you're trying to connect to isn't a good connection itself. Shakes fist at Australia. Yeah.
Well, your internet connection has been strong over Skype tonight.
Oh, good. So. I'm pleased. But yeah, that's anyway. I like it in Australia, but I couldn't let my kids run around loose outside like you. One, they get sunburned in about 2 minutes because it's the tropics. And you see, in the UK, in the summer, you used to get the UV factor would be 5 or 6 in the height of summer. We get 16 here. And I am currently sunburned because I spent 20 minutes in the sun yesterday. And it's probably less than that, to be honest. It doesn't take long.
Oh, and also you can't let the kids out because all the giant spiders.
Well, that was the other thing, yes. First of all, the sun. Second of all, the things that want to eat them. It's not, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, we have some things that like to kill you out here, but nowhere near as many as Australia. It's
not everything.
The occasional bear. I don't live close enough to the mountains to have to deal with bobcats or anything like that. So it's occasionally a bear will come through, but that's very rare.
Yeah, before I moved to the apartment complex where I live now, for about 6 months, my garbage can was knocked over 3 or 4 times by this bear that kept showing up.
Wow.
And my garbage can just had these the battle damage of the bear grabbing the lid and ripping it off out of the locking mechanism.
Yeah, bears scare me. I'm scared of bears. There's no bears here that I'm aware of, but I'm scared of them.
Yeah, they're pretty scary.
I've
seen a couple, but not I've been in a safe place when I've seen them.
I just watched is it The Revenant?
Probably the scariest encounter I've had with a bear was probably when I was about 11 or 12. This was about 2 houses ago. The house that I lived in was essentially built into the hillside, almost like a hobbit hole, because the hillside came down pretty much at a sheer angle. And then suddenly dropped off into this small cliff, and right there was the back porch. And essentially, in order to mow the lawn, you needed to attach the lawnmower to a rope and just let it roll down the hill, because there's no way that you're going up it with a lawnmower. But there was a bear that was sitting right at the edge of the woods, looking down at the house, and going out into the backyard and looking up and seeing those eyes. It's like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Thankfully, the bear was more interested in my neighbor's garbage and gladly just spread it out on their lawn, Also, I had raccoons a lot. The raccoons would love to... Well, we had a cat that absolutely hated coming indoors unless it was, somewhere around in the negative numbers for Fahrenheit for temperature. And she the only way to really feed her was just to leave some food out on the front porch. And we had eventually just raccoons starting to show up and carrying the food bowl over to the corner and just eating the cat food. Yeah, welcome to Rage's Wild World.
I think the very worst animals here, I think, are skunks. Because they smell all the time. They wind up as roadkill, or an animal kills one outside or something like that, and then you stink up your house. Every once in a while they come around. We've had the dogs get sprayed before. And it's like, oh, God.
The worst is either the bears here or the possums that sometimes show up. And these aren't the cuddly... these are the ugly North American marsupials.
Yeah, we get possums. We get bats, fruit bats. They're big. They're really big. But they don't seem to bother us. In fact, what have we got? Geckos. Everything's small. We've got geckos everywhere. But geckos are good because they eat all the moths and mosquitoes and flies. And then we've got...
But not the spiders that go make all the sandwiches.
No. you just let them get on with that. You just don't interfere.
The geckos try to rod the spiders, and the spiders just throw them off and go make another sandwich.
Well, we've taught the girls to love geckos because they are very, very handy to have around. Because we get a lot of geckos.
Only problem is that they try to sell you car insurance.
Well, they do. But we get a lot of the babies. We get a lot of the babies come into the house. Because if they're outside, the adults will eat them, so they come into the house. We've taught the girls that, no, these are good. Little baby geckos, they're fine. Let's let them scurry around the walls, whatever, because when they get bigger, they will keep the fly count down. So they're fine.
Which also makes the stream a lot more interesting whenever one goes across the green screen.
Well, cockroaches we get, but we kind of manage to keep on top of them. And the garage is full of crickets. Now... they're very noisy and they're very messy, but to be honest, I'd rather have a garage full of crickets than anything else, because they keep the garage clean as such, although they shit everywhere. But I'd rather have them than anything else.
I'm not sure if they have them where you are, Jared, but have you ever seen cave crickets?
No, I don't
these
think
are
so.
These are like the evil, ugly cousins of crickets that look like some sort of weird mutant cricket. And their defense mechanism is to actually jump towards you. And the only problem is that usually there's about a few dozen of them. They're very big in basements here. They'll basically an infestation. And I used to be terrified when I was about 5 or 6 of going to the basement because the house that I lived in at the time had this absolutely huge infestation of cave crickets. So you go down the basement... and you just see in the distance all these things hopping towards you out of the darkness. I mean, they're harmless. They're just ugly and, they charge you.
Yeah, so you get...
Cats used to... My cat used to love them because, it's like a free meal. They hop right towards you. The cat would just bat them down on the ground, bite their head off, and then go to the next one.
Jeez. I've got the text message. She's losing control.
All right. Well, then let's take a few minutes. Aki, tell us what's going on
start
on
showing
your channel
yourself.
and your stream, and just generally whore yourself out to our listeners.
Yes.
Shameless plugging. Is that what this is? This is the part to do that. Well,
we've already done it.
Well, I've been off. I've just got back to streaming the other day after having a couple of weeks off because we did the Skylab thing, which was a lot of fun. Met up with some other streamers to go and do that. And we'll be talking about that tomorrow on our podcast. So for those that might not know, I'm the host of Boosters and Space Tape, which is just a KSP podcast. There's a problem with this podcast, my podcast, is that it's a niche of a niche of a niche. So you've got to...
Well, you also have the general science as well. So you're not just KSP.
No, we do have general astronomy as well. But of course, if you just like astronomy, you're probably not going to listen to that podcast because you've got to get through all the KSP stuff first. But anyway, yeah, boosting.
Well, that's when you put timestamps in, so you could just skip ahead.
I've just started doing that actually through a request. So that's the thing about
we got a listener request to start putting in timestamps in the show notes, and that's why we started doing it.
Yeah, because I'm very lazy with show notes. I don't do show notes. I just do a brief description of what's going on in the show.
Well, see, Jared is also very lazy, and I took over at about week 4 because he would just throw in all the links and make it look ugly.
So yes, I don't have the luxury of committing that much time, because show notes can actually take up quite a bit of time as well. But I have started putting the timestamps. So I'm a Twitch streamer, and predominantly Twitch streamer. So on Akinesis _gaming, because there was an underscore there, which I regret. I regret the whole name actually, but the underscore is just makes the whole thing even worse. YouTube as well, but not so much. YouTube is just mainly for my highlights, really. I do a few other stuff in there, like I just did a loot crate opening. But I'm on YouTube as well, and then the Booze on the Space Tape podcast, and that's where all my time goes. But it's Akinesis Gaming on all of that, and on Twitter. And that's me. I kind of just do stuff, predominantly KSP. I'm a bit of a space buff, so the things I do tend to gravitate towards spacey things. Although my last stream I did play Day of the Tentacle. If any of you guys played those old games, you must have.
Actually, that was a little bit before my time on PC, and I hadn't played the remake. I'm a little upset that I missed that, because I went to sleep like an hour before you started it. I get up, I check my email. It's like, Akinesis Gaming has started streaming. So I clicked the email. It's like, he started playing Day of the Tentacle.
Yeah,
damn it!
Yes. Well, I've yet to finish. I should be able to, in the next stream, I'll finish it. So I'll give you.
Yeah, but that's the problem with Twitch streaming, is that you have to go back to the VOD now to be able to watch it.
Yeah, from the beginning.
Twitch streaming really leans towards more episodic content like KSP.
Yeah, it does. So Day of the Tentacle. I think it's 17 years ago. I think we worked out that the last time I played that. And they've done a remaster, the remake, and they're doing Full Throttle as well. So there's 3 in that series. The first one was Sam and Max. The second one was Day of the Tentacle, and the third one was Full Throttle. And they're currently remaking the Full Throttle one, and I am so excited about that. Hopefully they'll do Sam and Max as well.
I want more Sam and Max after the Telltale stuff, because they really went away from Sam and Max and went to more of, instead of point-and-click adventure, this weird Telltale style of almost interactive story, and not really point-and-click adventure anymore.
Oh, no, they need to keep it point-and-click adventure.
Yeah, where they went with The Walking Dead is a good example of it, where, yes, there are some point-and-click elements to it, but it's more of an interactive story, which...
Right.
My big problem with Telltale, how they do the interactive story, is it's not really interactive. It's, it's just variations. Okay, you choose between these two characters, which one lives and which one dies, but honestly, it doesn't really change the story overall. And that's where my big problem with Telltale has really been, is that it doesn't matter. The choices don't matter.
The illusion of choice.
Exactly.
Choice. Yeah. Well, these old point-and-click adventure games, I love them. Brings back so many memories. It's surprising how much of the puzzles are remembered as well. It all comes back to you, even though it was 17 years ago that I last played this. I still remember how to solve a lot of the puzzles. But they're great. I'm so chuffed they're remaking them. I am so chuffed they're remaking them. I've managed, actually, listening to... which episode was it where you're talking about the Mech Warrior stuff and getting the free... Mech Commander 2. There's a couple of episodes ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was 3 or 4 episodes
that
ago,
may have been our the game club before last, talking around Mech Warrior.
Yeah, I've
online.
After listening to that, I didn't realise you could go back and download these games from some other places. I know there's good old games and things, but
but then there's other games that are a lot harder to get. That's essentially abandonware, because there is
abandonware.
No legal way to get it. Like the first Mafia game, there is no legal way to get it digitally.
Right.
The only way to get it is to essentially pirate it, or abandonware, depending on what term you want. Because really, abandonware isn't a legal term, and it's a moral gray area, just because there's really no way to get to it, and the licensing makes it an absolute nightmare. Getting a Mafia, the first Mafia game, because of all the music licenses, it's not going to happen. Or if it does happen, it's going to be just a legal nightmare for the developer, to the point that they just don't bother. There's not enough sales there to really warrant it. It's like there was a patch for GTA San Andreas that actually removed songs from it.
Okay.
Because the licensing ran out, and they were updating it to try to do proper 1080p, but then they broke other things and broke all the saves, and I'm glad I wasn't playing it at the time.
Yeah. I was just in Jared's posted the link there, because I went on there after that episode, and I thought, I'll see if I can get hold of some of the old games. And I got hold of Mech Commander 1, actually. I played that, and I loved that game. Absolutely loved that game. So I went and downloaded that. And at the same time, I was thinking, the original Command & Conquer, the first Command & Conquer.
Yeah.
So I managed to get that as well.
First CNC.
Yeah. I was hoping
was it on there? I didn't see Command & Conquer.
No, it was through a different site.
Okay.
You can play it through the browser. And of course, it's difficult to play those games because of the graphics. Although at the time they were good and playable, whatever, but because of the resolution changes and everything, it can make it quite tricky. I was hoping, for instance, Theme Hospital. Do you guys remember Theme Hospital?
Oh
yeah.
Theme Hospital. I have a copy of Theme Hospital.
Yeah. Well,
actually, I have a couple copies. I have a physical copy actually in my closet right now, but I also have it where they gave it away on Origin probably about a year ago. And there's actually a fan project that you could mod Theme Hospital to be a lot more playable on modern systems.
Yes, that's exactly the point I was going to make. I've done that. And it plays on a 1920 resolution. 1080 resolution.
And Theme Hospital is one of those games that I've seen a lot of games try to chase, but they never quite get it.
No.
They never get the humor quite right, or they don't get the mechanics quite right.
Yeah, that's right. But there is mods. There's a community around this that's expanding it in all sorts of ways. But the most important thing is it's making it playable and visually appealing as well. They've done the resolution so that it isn't just this big blocky mess anymore. It is completely playable. And around Mech Commander 1 and everything, there's these same communities. And I'm glad that you mentioned this in your previous episode, because these games that I still think about today, every now and again I'll think, I remember playing that, I want to play that again. For some reason, I don't know why, but I just didn't think about going on and looking for it. I think, well, that's dead and gone, and it's now history. But no, there's these sites that you can go to and drag these old games, a lot of these old games from. And I'm really pleased. So I'll probably start streaming that, actually.
Yeah, it's just sometimes very difficult to get it to either stream or record properly. There was actually a failed project that I had, I would say probably about 6 months ago, that I'm probably going to retry, where I wanted to do a series on Crimson Skies.
Okay.
And I just couldn't get it to record properly. I tried a few different programs, and it just wouldn't work properly. It would either record in the small window, the 640 by 480, that I didn't have it running in that resolution because I did some little hackery to get it running at proper 1080p. Or it would just crash the game on scene change when it was done loading the game. It would just would not play properly. And it's one of those times that I really wish I had a secondary computer running to do hardware recording. It's one of the few times, actually.
Yeah, I could really do it.
Like Red Panda does.
Yes,
I believe.
Yeah, he does. After talking to him about the success he's had, because it's one of those things, isn't it? It's like having 2 or 3 monitors. The computers are the same. You can get by on one. I always say it's like a car. Actually, if you never have a car, you can get by without a car. As soon as you have a car, you can never then be without one. And I think running 2 computers is the same. I run everything from one computer. I do my streaming podcast, and everything goes out of in and out of one computer. I could do it too. And if I got 2 computers, it would probably make my world so much more easier, to the point where I'm thinking I cannot go back to one computer.
Yeah, let's put it this way. I have my old computer downstairs, and I'm thinking about putting the new video, or the replacement, the video card I just replaced, how feasible it is to put that in the old system, which I think you'll love that computer's name. Its name is Glitchy.
That doesn't sound promising.
Very appropriate. Well, let's just put it this way. When I put it together, I was getting some weird video interference, and it turned out that there was some sort of RF interference from a video card. It was going interfacing with the cable and was giving me weird artifacting.
Right.
So yeah, that took a while to diagnose.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how it got its name.
Yeah, I only had one PC for a long time, and then I got this second one, and I mean it's not like super high powered, but just having a second PC so my main one's not tied up whenever I want to render videos or anything like that is amazing. I would hate to go back to just one, and I'm about to have a third one.
Wow.
Because I'm building a server machine for our house, and I can just offload tasks to it as well whenever I need something done. So I'm going to be so ruined.
Yeah, because you've then got to maintain 2 computers, at least. Oh, you are maintaining 2 computers and keep them upgraded. Because some of the games, since I got upgraded to Windows 10, actually, let's not go down to Windows 10 discussion route, but I upgraded to Windows 10. And
don't worry, Jared absolutely loves Windows 10, and he has nothing evil to say about it.
Fuck Windows 10.
Yeah, I kind of wish I stuck with Windows 7. But anyway, Windows 10. One of the games I like to stream is City Skylines. I love that game. And it's such a relaxing game to stream as well. The chat seems to get really involved with that. And but I can't run it. Since I put it onto Windows 10, my processors, the core is completely maxed out all the time, which then makes the stream glitchy and unwatchable. On Windows 7, no problem. Windows 10, which is supposed to be easier on these sort of things, all of a sudden, problems. So, and there's a few other games.
I haven't actually tried City Skylines since I've upgraded, and I'm using upgraded in massive sarcasm quotes because I've had my own issues with Windows 10.
Yeah.
I haven't tried City Skylines since I've went to Windows 10. I really should try it.
Yeah, it's processor intensive. It's some games are like that. There's another game that I play that's like that. Can't remember off the top of my head right now, but it's processor intensive. But it was never a problem. Windows 10 has now made it a problem. And my machine, was built in 2012, and I've not upgraded any of the parts since then, really. I've put some SSDs in and everything. That's been upgraded. But in terms of the graphics cards and the processor and everything, it's all 2012 purchased.
Yeah, my system is 2013, except for the video card, which just got upgraded a month ago.
Yeah.
To the RX 480, which... as long as nothing's too crazy on the processor, because the processor is by far my weakest link now, just because AMD, and there's not a lot of more I could do with it without waiting for either a Zen to come out and upgrading to a brand new processor, which also means I have to upgrade my motherboard, or going to Intel, which, same problem there. There's not a lot I could do on the processor side of things, but anything that's GPU intensive, I'm having no problems with now.
Sure. My system keeps up with everything, but of course with the streaming as well, it puts an extra load on.
That's where things is just the tax of streaming and recording.
Yeah, I wish I had an i7.
Yeah,
because I built this machine before I was doing streaming and stuff, and so I've got an i5, and it's thankfully XSplit lets you offload a lot of the encoding for streaming and stuff onto your GPU, but even still, sometimes I struggle to stream games that. If I just had a bit stronger processor, I would be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I'm a bit better on my processing and rendering just because of how the FX chips handle it.
Yeah, you've got 8 logic cores. I've only got 4.
Yeah, which Kerbal also does really well.
Well, my computer is
all the way back around,
completely overclockable. Everything, the graphics cards, the motherboard, the RAM, the processor itself, it's all designed to be overclocked. I haven't overclocked it yet, so I do have that buffer for the meantime. But the fact that I'm there now, I'm going to have to start overclocking to be able to run these things. Means that things are going to need to be upgraded soon, or it might just be cheaper to get a new computer. I don't know.
Or move to a cooler climate as well, so you don't get thermal.
Yes, because I'm going to need to do... Yeah, that's the reason I haven't overclocked it yet. Although I can run air conditioning in here, of course, it's still hot. Even though it's cool compared to the outside temperature, it's still a hot temperature. So I need water cooling, but yeah, I'm a bit worried about the computer's performance in this heat.
Well, there's a reason why my computer's... Well, it's not official name, but its nickname is the space heater. I turn it on, and the room noticeably gets warmer.
Yes, this computer heats up the room. I am actually going to have to go now. Sorry.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, you said that, and we just keep going and going. I'm like, well, he's...
Yeah,
gonna have to bail eventually.
More Franken episode content, I guess.
Okay. Well, Aki, thank you very much for joining us on the podcast today.
Yeah, it was great to have you. No. We pretty much have an entire podcast at this point.
No, thank you so much for having me on here.
I'm just looking at the time.
I've really enjoyed
Yeah.
it. So if you ever need me back, I'll happy to oblige. Thank you very much for having me here. It's been awesome.
We definitely will welcome you back in the future. We'll try and schedule it out better next time.
Thanks.
And I'll double check the Google Calendar after Jared puts it.
And I will do it as well, because I should have done. I can't believe I've done that after me whinging about the unreliability of guests, and there's me being unreliable.
Right?
Yeah, but that's Jared's fault, not you.
Oh, not blaming Jared. I did have a feeling about it, and I thought I said earlier, yeah, I should check that, and I didn't, and then yeah, whoops. Sorry, Jared.
No problem. We got it worked out in the end. All right.
All right, well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Yep, we'll transition back to whatever segment we figure out for next time.
And now on to Community Corner, most likely, or just the ending music.
Yep.
And now, as his lovely music goes over Jared's voice.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Yes.
Okay, and obviously now is where that will be edited in.
Yeah, thank you, Pastor Jared.
Yeah. Okay, well, now that that's over, I think it's time for us to wrap up, Rach.
Yeah, this feels very strange. It's
It does.
been a short recording.
It does. I mean, we've got more recording to do after this, so...
Oh, my.
And it's not like I'll be going to bed early tonight.
You make that sound so dirty.
Wink. Definitely need some coffee after this. Before
Oh,
we
my.
go record other games. Or your internet craps out, one of the two. It's held strong so far, though. Let's not tempt fate, though.
Yeah.
Now it's time for us to talk about what's going on for our channels this week, which is the portion where I always go first. And I have to say that I have recorded a lot of Spin Tires. I've recorded my solo playthroughs of all of the maps except for River and Flood. And I'm probably going to take a break for a little while from Spin Tires. The way that I'm releasing those episodes means that there's only going to be one a week, which means that I've got technically 4 weeks of content covered. I mean, the Volcano one was already done and is already scheduled on my YouTube channel, but these 3 videos now are going to be up there. So
Yeah, next scheduled is your intervention.
yeah, but I had a mishap that I'm decided I'm definitely going to go in and cut all of the places and make them into a video that just highlights them. On hill, for those of you who know Spin Tires, you have to go from one corner of the map to the other with your logs, and you have to climb up the hill one way or the other. And I chose to use the actual road that kind of winds back and forth up the hillside. In getting my logs from one corner of the map to the other, doing that, I flipped over 6 times. I lost my load of logs 6 times.
Oh, my.
It was late. I was tired. What I should have done after the first screw up, because it was all my fault. Every single time it was absolutely my fault. So what I should have done was stopped. But then I got mad at it, and I was like, no, I'm going to beat you. I'm going to beat you tonight. So I went and I got another truck with a crane on it, and, between the 2 trucks, got it flipped over, loaded up with logs, pulled it up, flipped it over again, redid the whole process, pulled it up, flipped it over again, etc., up until the last point where that I was climbing the hill, and I actually rolled my truck all the way from the top to the bottom. Like, actually, it rolled over. I got the achievement on recording for rolling your truck all the way over. So I just kind of buried my head in my hands for a moment and was really angry. And then I just had to laugh because I was like, you big dummy, this is all your fault. If you just went to bed, it would have been fine. So you'll get to see that coming up in the next couple of weeks. That's definitely not this week. This coming week, some more archive footage that I've scheduled. Well, I say archive. It was just stuff that got buried. A few more of those videos. I think there's one more Warframe video and then a couple of random stream videos. Then there's also, I don't know what this week's review is going to be, actually. I haven't thought about writing it or recording it or anything
Welcome
yet.
to my world.
So I don't know what it's going to be. Stay tuned. Those of you who are subscribed to me, you'll see it pop up on Sunday.
Next time on Dragon Ball Z.
I did decide eventually, like last week I was talking about alternating between reviews and Spin Tires. I had a couple of people tell me that they didn't want me to do that, And honestly, my reviews are the most viewed things on my channel right now. So I'm just going to keep doing those every week instead. So Spin Tires is going to get scheduled for a day, and that's going to be its day every week for the next few weeks. So, yay reviews, but that means that I have to figure out what I want to review, and I wasn't worrying about it. So, I'll figure it out. You'll see it when it comes out on Sunday. Other than that, it's just some random stuff. Honestly, that's kind of what I do, is random stuff. Oh, there will be a new Sunrider this week. Episode 3 goes up. Which is the episode where I'm fired by lasers is heard for the first time. I'm so excited. So excited. But other than that, yeah, that's not really much going on my channel. Just the usuals. And you can find me on the YouTubes by searching for Gaming Psychologist. I'm very slowly getting some growth. I got a couple new subs this week, so I was very happy about that. Thank you. If you also happen to listen to the podcast, for subscribing to me on YouTube, I really appreciate it. You can follow me on Twitter at JMA4707. Got several new Twitter followers this week too, so thank you guys for following me on Twitter. And then if you want to watch me stream video games, which I do usually on Wednesdays and Fridays, you can do so over at twitch.tv/jarthur4707. Also, if you want to be my friend on Steam, I accept all friend requests from people and just hope that you guys listen to the podcast and aren't weirdos. And you can come chat with me, watch me play games through Steam if I'm not streaming.
What's wrong with weirdos?
Yeah, I'm a little bit weird too, so I guess nothing. I guess crazy people, psychotic people who want to murder me. That's what I hope you're not.
Well,
anyways,
there is Kyle.
Yeah, but I like Kyle. I think I'm safe. I don't think he's going to axe murder me.
Well, at least not this week.
Yeah, well, I'll take my chances. Anyways, if you want to come chat with me, watch me play games when I'm not actually streaming on Twitch, you can just send me a friend request. My Steam username is jarthur4707.
And if you wish to let them know exactly what episode you're coming from, this week's password is Dingo. Dingo. And as a change of pace, why don't we also spam Aki with the word Dingo? His Twitter handle is Akinesis Gaming, AKINESIS Gaming.
I'm doing it right now. There.
Well, you gotta wait till Friday to make him really wonder what the hell's going on.
Nope, I already did it. It's too late. Can't take it back now. I mean, I guess I could delete the tweet.
I peaked my microphone so much there. That's going to be interesting to hear what it sounds like.
Yeah, I'll fix it in post.
Fix it in post as in, you'll just listen to what I've fixed. It's like, yeah, good enough.
Yeah, good enough.
Oh, poor Aki's going to be so confused until he gets to this part of the podcast.
Yep. All right, so what's going on for you this week on your channel and whatnot?
Oh, well, this week I had a bit of recording error and had to re-record a 2-episode section of The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. Yeah, I loaded up my recording Sunday to do my prep for this week and realized, the microphone waveform looks really quiet. Actually, very quiet. Loaded up on Audacity. No movement on the meters whatsoever. It was blank. So I'm going to blame Groove. He got in and messed with my audio settings somehow.
Nice.
Well, that's the infuriating thing was I checked my settings before I recorded. Everything looked fine. I recorded, checked my settings whenever I realized I had no audio data. Everything was still fine. So maybe the game is just haunted, which is kind of fitting with the theme. So, episode 3 of Ethan Carter is actually a combination of episodes 3 and 4 of what I did in the original recording. And then, if you wish to see me get freaked out a little bit, episode 5, which goes live on Thursday, just sees me dope out of an area completely.
Nice.
So, that's always fun. Outside of that, RimWorld is hanging on by a thread, particularly today. Oh, yeah, the episode that went live probably about 12 hours because the second episode just went live. The first episode for Tuesday saw me barely survive. Only reason why I did was I forgot to give Jared orders. So, yeah. Seeing me almost fail is always fun, huh?
Absolutely. Command me.
Oh, my.
That's a reference to Sunrider Mask of Arcadius. That's probably going to be episode 10 or 11. I haven't got there yet in my recordings, but I've been there when I played through the game.
Yeah, RimWorld is always all sorts of just madness and fun. If you wish to join the colony, you could send me a tweet over at Gaming with CR if you wish to add your name to the name list, by the way. I keep forgetting to mention that, but I do constantly add to the name list. And then let's see. Well, I'm finishing up my series or semi-series with Kyle with Spin Tires, which means that Saturday I have the complete madness that was Rocket League.
Woo!
And you remember exactly what happened in that.
Yeah, I do.
So that's going to be Saturday, and hopefully we're going to be recording something tonight for next week. We'll figure that out in a little bit and see if that is actually worthwhile. And as always, the podcast comes out on Friday, and the Sunday sampler, which at this point I have no idea what I'm going to record. Actually, I have a little bit of an idea, but we'll see if I get something a little bit more interesting. Because I'm always at the mercy of what comes out, and right now there's kind of a drought of good indie games because, well, you heard what I talked about at the beginning of the episode. Something like 3 hours ago now.
Yep. I was there.
It's almost amazing.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you heard me just go off on 3 games, and yeah, that's about the quality of most of the stuff I get. Maybe one of these days I'll become a good YouTuber and get good games. Somehow I doubt it. But if you wish to see all the crap and then that I review and get review copies for, and then the games that are actually good that I buy, you could do so over at Gaming with Caffeine Rage on YouTube. Or, like I said, tweet me over at Gaming with CR for being added to the colony list. Or just, to see what I'm talking about. Lately, it's been me just being a little bit pissed off at my internet connection. And also, I commented about Rockstar releasing, teasing Red Dead Redemption 2. And, of course, no fucking PC version announced. Because I guess we need to wait about another 3 the we'll get the kind of dead version of Red Dead Redemption with all the online, and then they'll throw in all the Coyote cards that you could buy to be able to get everything because they've made all the prices so jacked up.
Coyote cards? That's amazing. I wish I'd thought of that.
So do I, because I saw that as a comment. But I was going to say Indian cards or something, but Coyote works just as well. But yeah, I'm just pleased that they're not releasing Red Dead Redemption right away. But that's Rockstar for you. They need to stagger their releases. They're going to do the current gen consoles. Then in a year, we'll see the PlayStation Pro. Oh, I fucking hate that name. And the Scorpio. Then, let's say in a year and a half, we'll see the PC release of Red Dead Redemption 2, which I'm a little sad that they didn't call it Red Dead Redemption.
Redder Deader Redemptioner.
Red Dead Redemption 2. Electric Boogaloo. But yeah, that's all my stuff going on, which means it's time to start wrapping things up and getting out of here.
Right.
We want to thank the Internet Archive for unknowingly putting up with us. And we're still working on getting off of it to relieve them of that burden. And if you wish to help pay for that, you do so over at patreon.com/VGL podcast. Or just toss the Internet Archive a few bucks as well, because they are awesome. If you wish to contact us, you can contact us through our email, vglpodcast@gmail.com, with your letters, voicemails, gaming suggestions, or random dingo pictures. or tweet us at VGL Podcast on Twitter. And our website, videogamelogicpodcast.blogspot.com, has our show notes if you wish to see, this week is probably going to be very light in the show notes, but it also has our RSS feed if you're watching us on YouTube, or if you don't wish to deal with iTunes or Google Play, where we're also featured. Our intro and outro music is On the Ground by Kevin McLeod, and you can find his work at Incompetech.com, and As the Dingoes Howl, and...
as his lovely voice, or
I
lovely
really
music,
cracked you up there.
lovely something starts to roll across my voice. Bye-bye now.
Dingo!
Bye-bye. You know, I'm going to have to go find dingo sounds now.
What's up, all you members of the Scrub Squad? This is Crash. We're going to be coming at you about Grand Theft Auto 4. Alright, so Grand Theft Auto 4, it's basically an open-world sandbox game that... Hello?
Hey, Crash, it's your cousin. Want to go bowling and maybe get a little shit-faced afterwards?
No, sorry, cuz I'm recording something for the VGL podcast right now. Maybe I can catch you up some other time, alright?
Okay, cousin, I'll hold you to that. I'll catch you later.
Alright, sorry about that, brosifs and brosofinas. Alright, so as I was saying, Grand Theft Auto 4. I'd like to talk a little bit about it because it's probably going to be the next Game Club game after this vote goes in, and... Son of a bitch. Hello?
Hey, Crash, it's your cousin. You want to go bowling or to the movies? Or you want to go out and get shit-faced and pick up lusty women?
Okay, look, dude, this takes a lot longer than I think you think it does to record one of these, so... Listen, I will call you when I have time, okay? Okay? Wait, is that okay?
Yeah, okay, I guess that's okay. Anyways, I'll talk to you later, cousin. Maybe some other time we'll do something.
Anyway, so as I was saying, Grand Theft Auto 4, it's a really good game with actually a pretty engaging story. It's pretty long, and you meet some really good characters along the way. I personally like Brucey quite a bit. And anywho, oh my Jesus fuck, dude. Seriously. Alright, look, Kerbin, I swear to Christ, you better be going somewhere with this, because you cannot be asking me about bowling again. It has literally been less than a minute. You do understand that, right?
Okay, geez, cousin, maybe some other time. I mean, after all, you are Mr. Big Shot Astronaut, right? Going up into space, doing all the research? Yeah, you know what it is. Alright, I'll talk to you later.
So Grand Theft Auto 4 is a really good game. It's got a lot of good guns and a lot of really cool story beats, and it has a really nice Eastern European story. It only has one major drawback that I can think of, and that major drawback is... Is he done? I mean, I'm not kidding, guys. I might lose my shit if he calls again. I'm not kidding. Okay, so Grand Theft Auto 4 is definitely what we should be picking for the Game Club, because it's going to be the game that you're going to get the most enjoyment out of. Now, you're going to need about the 2 weeks in order to play it, and oh my god, are you kidding me? Okay, what, dude, what do you actually want?
Hey, Crash, I was just wondering, were you going to be sitting in something this week? Hello? Crash? Hello?
I can't work under these toes, I swear to god, I just... With a cloud in the woods, windmilling his... Which is no better than Sean Murray being primed to take Peter Molyneux's up his... Okay, well anyways, Grand Theft Auto 4 is a game that you should vote for because it's a lot of fun and I feel that it actually shaped the sandbox genre of gaming. So anyways, this has been Crash, signing off.